YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, and also on our Facebook channels and X. Okay, let's look at the newspapers because it's a bumper Thursday morning as always. We'll start with the Tyrconnell Tribune, and we are Minister Conalogue adjacent. We're going to hear what he has to say, but he's spoken to the paper here. Minister Charlie McConalogue has accused Sinn Féin of empty promises scheme as he rejects their criticism of the government's record of delivery for homeowners in Donegal. McConalogue said that Sinn Féin's a very different perspective when it comes to Northern Ireland. He said the Northern Ireland Executive's 3-year programme for government, published at the start of September, provides no commitment at all to provide support to homeowners, despite some having already had to commence remediation works on homes with zero financial support. He said the government's also committed to fully funding the scheme and ensuring that funding is made available over the course of the year ahead for all homes undertaking remediation. Each week we're getting or seeing more homes get into construction, with a total of 46 now finished. 206 more are underway. He said the government is fully committed to seeing this momentum built upon in the year ahead. A total of 811 homeowners have now received grant approval under the scheme, with almost 2/3 of those, these being for full demolition. So obviously we're heading into election time, and he's pointing out that I believe he's pointing out that Sinn Féin are promising the bells and whistles in the Republic, but no plan for those in Northern Ireland. That's his contention. On to the Donegal News. They've picked up the concerns over cancer flights. A charity providing subsidised flights for more than 400 Donegal cancer patients to Dublin for treatment has voiced fears after the Aviation Authority confirmed plans to limit seat capacity at the capital's airport. Donegal Cancer Flights and Service offers reduced price flights for those travelling for treatment and works in conjunction with the Irish Cancer Society, which provides volunteer drivers to bring Donegal patients to and from Dublin Airport to hospitals. Since February 2022, public service obligation flights have been operated by Emerald Airlines on behalf of Aer Lingus Regional Services. And they'll go on to say in the inside of that paper that senior top brass in Emerald Airlines say that they have to look at, if this cap remains, they have to look at from a commercial perspective whether or not they can continue those flights. On to the Derry News this morning. Over 250 new jobs are to be created for Derry. It's been announced. Good news. Speaking to the Assembly on Tuesday, Communities Minister Gordon Lyons announced that 270 would be created at Lisahally Services Centre. The jobs boost will expand the services of the Department for Communication on behalf of the Department for Work and Pensions, delivering roles in areas such as universal credit, child maintenance, disability and retirement services. Heading to the Nationals now, we'll start with the Irish Daily Mail. And the building contractor for the National Children's Hospital sent the government a €25 million bill for a task that cost them, you probably heard this on the news already, €200,000. And it's actually the Health Minister himself that revealed this. Tensions are deepening between the National Paediatric Hospital Development Board, which is overseeing the project, and contractor BAM over claims submitted by the construction giant, with Minister Stephen Donnelly saying the board will bring BAM to court if needed. Mr Donnelly appeared in front of the Oireachtas Health Committee yesterday, where he told members that BAM requested $25 million to change the position of air conditioning grills in operating theatres. The contractor told the board the changes would take 6 months to complete and would impact the substantial completion date. It costs less than 1% of that. It cost less than €200,000 and took a few weeks, the Health Minister said. It's worth saying that, mistakenly or not, BAM still issued an invoice to the state for the full $25 million, but maybe that was an administrative error on their part. Presumably it wasn't paid, but my word, €25 million euro invoice going for a €200,000 job. Sounds good, easy money if you could get it. We talked about issues for parents in Donegal accessing public dentists, particularly through school programmes. That was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. It's in the papers today, so I thought I'd mention it, and it's in the Irish Independent. More than 100,000 school children missed out on dental screening last year because of a lack of dentists in the public dental service, with fears that empty posts are not being filled by the HSE. 100,000 children missed out on screenings. That's, potentially picking up fillings early or other issues that could be fixed before an extraction, for an example. The number of full-time dentists in the public dental service has fallen to 253, down from 330 in 2006, according to the Irish Dental Association. The public care includes providing dental screening for school children, emergency care for public patients in dental hospitals, and service is for special care patients. It left around 104,000 school children losing out on dental screening last year, according to the association. Around 22 posts are currently not filled in the HSE, and there are fears they are being suppressed, the association has said. So that is a serious concern, and there certainly at least one vacancy here in Donegal. The Irish Times front page again today, focusing on Ukrainian refugees. The government has paid out $7.6 million to external consultants to assist in dealing with people arriving in Ireland from Ukraine since the Russian invasion in 2022. Now, perhaps you may have naively thought that the government was administering all of this and it were they that were responsible. They are ultimately responsible, but they've paid €7.6 million to an external consultant company. So that company only provided consultation. The fees were paid to Deloitte Management Consultants by the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth. Minister for Integration, Roderick O'Gorman, said the contract with Deloitte was initially aimed at assisting with the delivery of his department's humanitarian response to the war in Ukraine at rapid pace and scale in a resource constrained environment. The minister told the Dáil in an answer to a parliamentary question tabled by Catherine Murphy of the Social Democrats that Deloitte's now continues to assist the Ukrainian division in his department with continuous processes improvements, consolidation and streamlining of essential operations, in addition to providing strategic advisory support. 7.6 million for that. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't made a fortune out of this situation, and I mean that with no with not diminishing any elements around it, but crazy money we're talking. The Irish Farmers Journal this morning. Frustration is mounting among cattle farmers around the huge gulf that has opened up between Irish beef prices and that of our main market in the UK. The latest data available from Bord Bia shows a gap of €1.06 per kilogram, or €403 per head, on a typical 380 kilogram carcass. Prices for R4L bullocks in the UK have risen by the equivalent of 10 cent a kilogram to $6.39 per kilogram in 4 weeks, while the Irish price has stagnated. Lower cattle supplies, increased retail sales and Christmas procurement are all driving up the UK trade at the moment. Right, on to the Irish Daily Star now, and many of you maybe were tracking the hurricane, which is just going through Florida at the moment, and indeed, just for those of you watching a live cam here from downtown Orlando, it's still in the darkness there, but you can see that the roads are pretty much empty, and there is wind and rain still battering. Though in that particular part of Florida, the lights are staying on. But anyway, up to 70 Irish people who are holidaying in Florida in the direct path of looming, although it's past now, or is passing now, Hurricane Milton, were last night moved to safe locations before the deadly storm was set to batter the area. Any of you or your family, I wonder, were you part of that group of 70 Irish people holidaying over there? I know it's the middle of the night there now, but it would be interesting to speak to you. Irish travel company American Holidays said the majority of the Irish tourists, who are mostly couples, were based in Orlando. The majority of them are based in Orlando at the moment. Anyone who has been on the coast, we've moved into central Florida, so away from the known affected areas, and it is mainly couples at the moment. So the full extent of the impact of that hurricane, not yet known, because it's still under darkness there. Many Floridians decided to stay, and some decided to stay, but some simply didn't have the money to gas up, as they might say, their vehicle and get out of town, get out of there. Two light-hearted stories here, just to wrap it up. Wimbledon is doing away with line judges after 147 years and will replace them with AI. Well, this is the start of it, folks. We're all going to be replaced. But you know, the people on the lines, out! They would shout out, and then McEnroe would argue with them or something like that. Anyway, that's been done away with. Most tournaments already have, and it's a thing of the past in Wimbledon. Tournament chiefs announced yesterday that the job usually done by 300 eagle-eyed ball watchers will instead be carried out by computers. The smartly dressed officials have been a familiar sight at SW19 since it began in 1877, and they are usually paid between 50 and €215 a shift depending on experience. And lastly, how do you like your eggs in the morning? Well, young uns like them poached. Fried and scrambled eggs for breakfast have been panned by young adults. Only us old fogies are having them that way, apparently. Eggs with soldiers, the fry-up and eggs Benedict are seen as old-fashioned ways of cooking. That being said, I wouldn't have had eggs with soldiers for 40-odd years. Some 61% of those aged 23 and under prefer poaching eggs, with others adding smashed avocado. I wonder, should I read that perhaps the way it should read? Some 61% of those aged 23 and under prefer their mother poaching their eggs and then adding the smashed avocado for them. A breakfast burrito and eggs with Middle Eastern cheese also made the Generation Z top 10, believe it or not. On average, we eat 5 eggs a week, with Gen Z consuming 6, the survey by St. U free-range eggs also found. Some 28% look for healthy ways to eat them. St. U's chef, Bex Tonk, said, Gen Z, in celebrating the humble egg, inspiring us all to explore delicious new ways to enjoy their highly nutritious benefits. I've never had smashed avocado. I don't believe I have anyway. If I did eat it, it was inadvertent. Okay, let's take a quick break, everyone.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Century Complex has spectacular fun this October. Join us for a family fun day on October the 26th and catch Halloween classics like Hocus Pocus on the big screen starting from October the 19th. For more information or to book tickets, call 07491 21976 to celebrate spooky season with us.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 325 75.
Let's talk about lamb. Quality assured lamb. There's so many ways to enjoy its natural flavour, like tender lamb pieces for a midweek teriyaki stir fry, or succulent lamb chops, delicious with minty couscous. And for the weekend, leg of lamb with rosemary that the whole family will enjoy. For great meal ideas, visit boardbia.ie/recipes and always choose lamb with the Boardbia quality mark so you know it's produced to Boardbia's high standards, verified at every stage.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It is 9:18, just turned 9:19. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're joined in studio by our journalist, Michaela Clark. Michaela, thanks so much for joining us again. I do appreciate it. It's just to get some updates on some ongoing, very difficult stories for those involved. And we're going to start with the ongoing search for a missing kayaker. Paul Buchanan. What's the status of that search at this point, Michaela?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there's a lot of searches ongoing at the minute. So a multi-agency search operation was launched after reports of the missing kayaker, who you mentioned is Paul Buchanan. He's aged in his 50s and from Ramelton. So that was launched after the reports of him missing in the Gweedore Bay area. So the Bombay Coast Guard was tasked by Mallinhead Coast Guard, along with the Rescue 118 helicopter and Ironmore RNLI, after Paul Buchanan failed to return after setting off from Mahargallen Pier on Thursday evening at around 5 o'clock. We know he was in a kayak, so the alarm was raised. Searches have been continuing since, but yesterday they were stood down due to adverse weather conditions.
Yeah, and of course, those responding have to also ensure their own safety as well, as this search is ongoing.
Yeah, that's it. So the searches were stood down, but the Coast Guard has said this morning that they're now taking their lead from Gardaí. It's been changed from a search and rescue operation now to a recovery operation. So the Coast Guard says they have no plans to resume them searches today, but searches are expected to resume in the weekend. And the Gardaí also confirmed that the searches will resume later this week.
Yeah, there's expertise in these type of cases that they will know the best way to use the resources at the most appropriate time. But this just extends an already incredibly difficult time for friends and family of Paul and the community more generally too. It's incredibly sad. Yeah,
because over the weekend it emerged then that a kayak was found near Tory Island. So obviously that kind of changed the focus of the search, and it's, as mentioned, it's now a recovery operation. But the community does seem to be rallying around. A special rosary was held in St Mary's Church in Ramelton on Tuesday evening for Paul Buchanan, and a minute's silence was also held on Monday. There was a special housing meeting at County House Lifford, so there was a moment of silence held for him before that started on Monday.
There's also a major search ongoing, focusing in Inishowen.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon, Gardaí issued an appeal for information. This followed reports of a man entering the sea at Lagacurry Beach in the Isle of Doe in the Clonmany area. We know the man's aged in his early 70s. Gardaí have described him as being 6 foot 2 inches in height, and they've said when he was last seen he was wearing a bottle green heavy jumper, a blue collared shirt, navy cords and black boots. And Gardaí say that they are aware of a report of a missing man in Donegal matching this description. All
right, so they believe it to be the same person. There was another missing persons launched last night.
Yeah.
That's separate to this.
Yeah, because Gardaí have then, in terms of this man missing in Inishowen, so they've appointed a family liaison officer to the family of this man that has missing. So in terms of this, they're carrying out the appeal for information in conjunction with the missing man's family on the presumption that he is missing and unfortunately presumed deceased.
But searches are continuing.
But searches are continuing. So it's a multi-agency search as well, involving the Coast Guard from Greencastle, Mulroy, Mallinhead, as well as the Rescue 118 Sligo-based helicopter, local RNLI services and Gardaí. And similar, as mentioned previously, to the kayaker search, Gardaí have said, or the Coast Guard have said that this is Garda-led as well. So it will all depend on what Gardaí are requiring in this search.
And is there anything specific that's been released by the Gardaí or other agencies in relation to this?
Yes, so Gardaí are particularly appealing to fishermen working in the area, landowners with coastal shoreline, and anybody engaged in any activity in the coastal area to be aware of this investigation and report any information to them. So they're saying that this is an appeal for information rather than a call for members of the public to engage in search. As you mentioned there, that we need to leave it to the rescue and the emergency services. So they're advising members of the public engaged in activities along the coastline or in the water to be aware of potential adverse weather conditions and take appropriate caution when partaking in these activities, and to contact Gardaí at Buncrana Garda Station first.
And I mentioned this just a little bit earlier on because there are a number of sort of operations ongoing. Another missing persons appeal was launched late last evening. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this relates to a missing man from Letterkenny. He's been named as 57-year-old Gabriel McCarran. He was reported missing on Tuesday. Gabriel is described as being approximately 5 foot 10 inches in height, of a slim build, short brown hair and has blue eyes. And when last seen, he was wearing a black puffer jacket, blue and black striped top, navy trousers and navy Crocs. And a photo of Gabriel is available on our website. So in terms of that, Anybody with information can contact Letterkenny Garda Station.
Yes, and for those who are watching the live stream, we've just put up the picture of that missing gentleman. Any information to An Garda Síochána, indeed, if the gentleman himself is listening, just to make contact and let people know he's okay, because there's quite a bit going on at the moment. Okay, listen, Michaela, thanks very much for that. I do appreciate it. That's our journalist, Michaela Clark there. Right, on to some other matters and your comments coming in, as always. The road at Castle Shanahan is being resurfaced, I'm told, so it's blocked off. If anyone would like to take an alternative route, says a listener, I believe. Good morning, Greg. Just got this text. As you can see, I never opened it. Is this the next text scam to try and catch us? Is there no way to stop these scam texts? Keep up the good work on your show, Greg. That comes in from a Convoy listener. And it is, unfortunately, it's not new. It's one we've seen before. And it reads, gov.ie, you are eligible for a discounted electricity bill under the Emergency Benefit Scheme. How they stop them, I don't know, because the scammers can randomise numbers now. They can clone numbers. I still maintain that the phone companies should be able to use, even if it's their AI, who knows, they should have some system whereby this stuff can be screened. But that being said, so many texts are sent out from so many different numbers, it's probably complicated. The key rule in all of those things is never click a link within the message, be it that, a message or an email. Any organisation that asks you to click a link are either A, scammers, or B, really don't understand how scamming works and are doing their own company a disservice. So just don't click in them. Right, I hope this message finds you well. I'm currently completing a level 5 diploma in psychotherapeutic counselling. I'm due to graduate in March 25, but I'm facing significant difficulties in securing the necessary clinical placement hours required to complete my course. I've been actively seeking a placement for several months, but unfortunately, I've been unable to find an organisation in the Northwest that is accepting student counsellors at this time. I've contacted GP surgeries and several counselling organisations. Some have replied with a no, and some have never got back to me. I am registered with both the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy and the National Counselling Society, and I have my own insurance for counselling. Despite this, finding placement hours has been a major challenge. Although I attend my classes in Belfast, securing clinical hours there while managing a full-time job would be overwhelming, especially as I have multiple sclerosis. Due to this, I'm particularly keen to find a placement closer to home in the Northwest, but opportunities for student counsellors in this area seem to be extremely limited. My clinical hours must be provided with a setting of clients over the age of 18. The placement of 100 hours is completely free to any organisation, but so far, no organisation have been able to accommodate student counsellors. I'm at a point where I'm seriously concerned that I may not be able to complete my course, which will be heartbreaking as I have genuinely loved every aspect of my training so far. Any support or advice you could offer would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. And they say they were reaching out to us in the hope that you may be able to assist, perhaps by broadcasting my request on your show. Of course, there it is. So it is a student who is currently completing a level 5 diploma in psychotherapeutic counselling. They're looking to get counselling hours. They've got their own insurance. They are registered with the BACP and the NCP. Some organisations aren't getting back to them. Others have given them a no. If you know where that person's skill, they've already got a skill and a value to what they can provide, where they could do that locally in the Northwest here and accumulate those 100 hours of a placement, they'd be greatly appreciative. So if you get in touch with us, we can potentially put you in contact with them and fix that situation.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
With more routes nationwide, your TFI Local Link bus service provides connection to the wider Transport for Ireland public transport network. Save up to 30% when you use your TFI Leap card on TFI Local Link services. For route and timetable information, visit transportforireland.ie. We're Transport for Ireland. We're Transport for you.
Celebrate Oktoberfest at Easy Living Furniture with incredible savings on dining, sofas, mattresses and accessories. These deals are only here for Oktoberfest. When they're gone, they're gone. At Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture. Luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
If you're running low on worktop space, the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer is perfect. Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Aeronix. With 2 stacked drawers and 2 meal racks, it evenly cooks 4 layers of food at the same time. Perfect for up to 8 people, saving up to 55% on energy costs compared to conventional ovens. See the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer at Ben Sweeney Aeronix, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Join Local Enterprise Office Donegal for an event to celebrate National Women's Enterprise Day on Thursday the 17th of October at Lough Ess Castle Hotel. This free event kicks off at 6 and features inspiring speakers like beauty entrepreneur Grania McCoy and leading health psychologist, author and host of the Super Brain podcast, Dr. Sabina Brennan. Local businesswomen will also share their stories of how to make it happen in business. Register now at localenterprise.ie/Donegal. Don't miss Donegal's premier event for female entrepreneurs on Thursday the 17th at Lough Ess Castle.
Now we are joined by author Michael Harding, who has just published his latest book, I Loved Him from the Day He Died, My Father, Forgiveness and a Final Pilgrimage. Good morning to you, Michael. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
What started this journey, I suppose, either literally or metaphorically, for you, Michael? And was it a book at the beginning of the journey, or did the book come from the process?
Well, the main thing that started it was the Camino to Santiago in Spain. I had been in hospital in Beaumont for a few operations on the spine, and my danger was that maybe I wouldn't be able to walk properly or at all when it was over. So when I got my health back 100%, I felt a kind of a gratitude, and that's the kind of reason that people go and do the Camino. You know, nearly everybody who does the Camino is doing it for some reason or for some person or to remember somebody or whatever. And so the main focus for me was I was wanting to write a book about this little journey on the Camino. And for some reason, because I've been writing memoirs now for a decade, and I've written about my mother and I've written about many, many people, but I had not written about my father in the whole 8 memoirs that I had previously written. And for some reason on the Camino, he came to me as it was like his ghost was looking in the window. I think it was somewhere earlier, about a couple of months before I went, I was talking to somebody in Cavan and they said, "You're beginning to look very like your father." And that really affected me because my father died when he was about the age I am now, actually. I'm 71. And I had this strange sense that you become your father. You become your parent as you get older. And for all those reasons, I thought, gosh, this is the book to write about him.
And Michael, what age were you when your father passed away?
I was very young. I wasn't very young. I was 22.
Yeah, it's a baby,
but
really.
in those days... Yeah, in those days, like at 22, you weren't really mature. And, you know, an old person, I know this is a terrible thing to say, but for a young person at that age, you don't want to be close to older people. You know, because you're young and you just want vibrancy in your life and fun in your life. And my father was 50 when he married, so he was an old man by the time I was 10 years of age. And it was like other boys in my class in secondary school, their fathers played football, you know, for the county team. They were heroes. They were socialising in the pubs and singing songs and playing fiddles and box accordions. Whereas my father was this elderly gentleman who lived in an aloof space in the house, sitting under a standard lamp in an armchair reading his books. So to me, he wasn't like what a real man should be.
Yeah.
He was just an old, frail person. And
it's interesting
and
because
that
if you had him maybe into your late 20s, early 30s, you'd have completely redefined that relationship, I'm sure, but you didn't have that opportunity because he passed when you were so young.
That's exactly the truth, Greg. Yeah, I would have asked him, did he ever despair? How did he feel when he fell in love? How did he propose to his wife, my mother? How did he experience his sexuality? How was his life? And also, where did he, what was his life when he was young? All those questions that you don't ask your parent until you get married,
and
until
Michael,
you have children.
Do you mind me asking, this is obviously, something that you write about in the book and something that is very clear in your mind right now. But was it obvious that was absent between the ages of 22 and 70, if you know what I mean? Or was it only on the Camino that you started sort of processing this?
No, I think the funny thing about him, even though he passed away when I was young, he had an enormous influence on my life, even though he was like an absent ghost. But, for example, my father used to write for the Irish press. He used to do book reviews for David Marcus in the newspaper. And so he was a kind of a writer in his own life. He also was very supportive when I was a teenager and I would be maybe writing poetry and even publishing. I published poetry in New Irish Writing when I was 16. But if he came into the room and I was doing my homework, or I was supposed to be doing my homework, and in fact I was really writing poetry, and he'd say, "Oh, you're writing poetry, keep it up." He really encouraged me towards a writer's life. So that was one way he influenced me. And the other thing was that when he died, funny enough, it was just in the same year as he died that I made a decision to go and study theology to become a priest. Now, the connection there is clearly the father figure that I lost with my own daddy. I began to look for in heaven, if you like. I began to sort of look for a template of a God father.
So at that age,
substitute for
that age, you must
the lack
have,
of my own father. Sorry,
I beg your pardon, Michael. At that age, then you obviously didn't realise or completely underestimated the impact this man had on your short 22 years before you passed.
No, I was very aware of his presence all along,
right.
But it was like having a novel beside you that you never read.
Okay, yes.
It was like having a ghost. In fact, when I started this is a series of memoirs, and by the way, this is the final book in the whole series of 8 memoirs. But when I began this project, the initial title I had for it was My Father's Ghost, because it seemed to me that in one sense my father was absent, and in another sense he dominated my life as a male to male. And I think that, like, I've met a lot of people with the same experience where their father they remember as a kind of Edwardian figure in the house, because men in those days, they didn't have the same expression of emotion as people do have now, and they didn't participate as much in child rearing, like at a physical tender level of, do you know what I mean, making the dinner and feeding the baby at night. Didn't kind of happen. The father tended to be an Edwardian figure at a remote level. And there's so many men of my generation who are influenced by those fathers that the father was sort of dominating and present, and yet you didn't really know him. He was a mystery. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to capture in the book.
Yeah, for sure. But also, too, you're going back and reflecting on your own time as a young person in the context of your relationship with father, and even beyond that. And I think that's going to be an interesting journey for people of all generations, but I think particularly of an older generation, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that a father can influence you by saying, by putting information into your life, but his absence can also influence you, because you can spend years going and looking for father figures. You can wander around the world looking for father figures and wasting your time sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd say I wasted a lot of time in pubs listening to beautiful music.
Yeah.
I suppose you wouldn't call that wasting time, though.
No, no. But when you talk about searching for father figures, and many people do, that's not consciously, is it? I mean, on you're reflecting on that in your 70s now, are you, Michael? You weren't conscious of your search for a father figure, and maybe
No.
it's because you hadn't really worked out your own father's position in your life, or the influence, or however you would phrase that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When you're young, you're really not conscious. You know, you're playing out your life, and you don't realize that your life is a sort of a ripple effect caused by a previous life. And you don't realize also that your life is not that unique. You know, that you come in a pattern as your parents and grandparents were, and it's like waves of the sea. You're just one wave coming in this moment. But when you're young, you think, I'm totally special, I'm totally unique, there's nothing ever been like me. And it's only gradually when you get to the age of 70 that you kind of become aware that you're not that unique, that you are a pattern as what your father or mother or grandparents were.
Yeah.
And this just happens to be your time.
I think, Michael, just in my own life experiences, in that, you know, and I got that. I had a fantastic relationship with my father, and I was blessed with that. But I just recognized, I recognized my 22-year-old self in you, if you know what I mean, in that you push them away and you don't realize, you don't push them away, but you distance yourself. And it's a good lesson for anyone listening to the show, because I've found grief and loss is actually sometimes much easier the stronger the relationship and the closer you are to someone. I've seen situations where people have not spent as much time with their parents. This is not in my own family, outside it. They've not spent as much time with their parents, and the loss hit them much greater than those that were able to spend more time with them. I don't understand the psychology behind that, but everyone's different. But I've just observed that in my life.
I think it makes total sense. And I think that the reason is, I'm not a psychologist either, but I think it's simply that they haven't resolved. In other words, if you are away from your parents and haven't resolved the relationship, then when a death comes, it can be a terrible blow, because you feel there are things that are unfinished and that you never got a chance to finish. And that can be really, really tough when you lose a parent. From my point of view, I suppose, I think that remembrance is always an act of intimacy. And so for me, writing a book about my father is a way of creating an intimacy. It's like a love letter, really. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm writing a love letter to a man that I haven't seen for 50 years. And yet I know that his presence in my life was powerful and beautiful.
And during the Camino and in the process of writing this book, and I don't want to sound soppy or whatever, but did you write it with him? I think you mentioned earlier in the interview that you sensed him there, right? Is there a spiritual element to this in this process? Like, were you resolving the relationship with your father, whatever might have been left to been resolved in the process of writing this book? And do you believe he's aware of that? I don't know how spiritual you are or not.
Well, I think that everything I write has a spiritual dimension, because I'm a deeply committed Catholic and Christian, and I'm also a practitioner of Tibetan Buddhist practices for about 30 years. So I do have a great enthusiasm for religious faith. And I think that probably at my age, this was sort of a kind of like a love letter to my father, but it's also like a prayer that you would be able to say to your parents when they are deceased, that you could still wish them well. And really what we say all the time, you know, may they rest in peace. It's a beautiful wish to say about your parents that you've lost. May you sleep easy, may you rest in peace, may the light of heaven shine on you. All those beautiful religious phrases, I connect with those phrases. And I don't think of my father in some sort of ghostly realm of heaven, walking around and sitting eating bananas, talking to God or something. But I do believe in transformation. I do believe that all of us, our lives, we're living within eternity in the present moment, but our lives, in the end of our life, finds completion and finds some kind of union with whatever the cosmic ground of being is. I do believe that, yes.
I know it wasn't your first choice, but I do love the title. I loved him from the day he died. I think we've been explaining that to some extent through the course of the interview, but how does that sort of capture the essence of this book for you, Michael?
Well, I have to recognise that I picked the title from a line in a poem by a great, great poet called Michael Hartnett down in Limerick. He's passed away a long time, but it's a beautiful line, and I think it reflects the fact that sometimes when you're young, your parent passes away, and you really haven't thought about their full life. And it's only when you're at that moment, you see the coffin being closed, or you're at the graveside, or you walk away and you realize you will never meet that person again. And it's in those moments, I think, that their life becomes alive to you in ways that you think, God, if only I had known that before he passed away. And sometimes you meet people at funerals and they'll say to you, oh, I knew your father. He was such and such. And they'll describe him in a way that you've never heard before. And again, you'll be saying, God, I wish I knew that before he died.
Yes.
So there's a strange way that love awakens in grief. And in a sense, grief awakens love. Mm-hmm. And the only resolution for grief in that way is remembrance, because remembrance is an act of intimacy.
And in all of that, how important is it that sometimes we just let some things go?
I wish we could do that all the time. I think that's one of the great wisdoms, in Buddhism. Detachment is the bottom line of finding your bliss and finding your heaven. Let go of all that you're attached to, including kind of stuff in relationships or anything, to let go and let be and let your parents, and to see them also as beautiful, even though they lived lives that were different from yours.
And I know this is not necessarily your story, Michael, and to some extent perhaps it is, but I think too, and as people age themselves, and things that happen to us when we're young stay with us right until the day we die ourselves, that people perhaps could work on rehabilitating their relationships with their parents. If certain things can be overcome, because I think there's a piece for the person in that as well, and the person.
You mean
go ahead, yes, Michael.
Do you mean when your parent is alive?
No, preferably when they're alive, but even if they've passed, because people carry guilt and sadness with them, and they think, well, because the person's gone, that can never be addressed. But I think people could take a leaf out of your book and take a read of your book, and I know it's not exactly your situation, but sort of give themselves peace.
Well, I totally agree with you. There's a little story at the end of the book. To do with the fact that I went to the grave on Grave Sunday with flowers. It's just the ending story in the book. But the reason I mention it is because I used to go to, my parents' grave for many years. And I would always say I was going to my mother's grave because she died in 2012. So it was the mother's grave. I never thought about the father.
Yes.
And it was like the poor man, he'd be lying in the grave wondering, why do I never talk to him? Because everybody would always say, are you going to the mother's grave on Sunday? But because he was 50 years gone, I never kind of thought of him. So this year, I went back to the grave, as I usually might, but I took flowers, and I very much in my heart felt I'm going to my father's grave to pray for him and to wish him well. And that really was like a prayer, and that was I felt a beautiful kind of blessing coming at me from that moment. Mm-hmm. I thought I felt good, and I also felt good, for example, a few times when I was on the Camino, and you stop at various churches along the way, and you'd go in, and like everybody else, you just light a candle, and you just think about your father, and you just say, I'm going to light this candle for my father. And it generates beautiful memories. It generates moments. Suddenly they flash back into your mind. And you feel that, even though, as I say, I'm not talking about some sort of, literal idea of ghosts and that. But there is a lovely feeling of kind of closeness with somebody that has passed on to the next, manifestation. Somebody who's passed on, you can still feel a beautiful resolution and closeness with them by doing something even as simple as lighting the candle.
And do you know what? Who is to say that all of our experiences from birth, moments that you had with your father that you can't contextualize as an adult, where he showed you care or love, or he came back from work and you as a 3-year-old ran up for him to pick you up. Who is to say that in that process of lighting candles or what have you, that we're not tapping into a subconscious emotion that we couldn't make, that we couldn't make sense of as a toddler? Who is to say that that's not, that's not what's happening, that something physical and real is also being brought to the fore, even though we can't quite make out what it might be, but we feel it, Michael?
I think you're totally right, because in all the ways that I do psychotherapy sometimes when I'm worried or depressed or stressed, but psychotherapy and counselling and everything else are very powerful and very helpful in grief. But there's no doubt, in my experience, that a little ritual as well of going to a church, going to a graveyard, lighting the candle, these are physical realities, and yet they have a profound effect on your subconscious, and they have a profoundly healing effect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Michael, listen, it's been lovely speaking to you. I've been slightly disadvantaged in I didn't get to read the book prior to our conversation, and I'm sorry about that. But we've got a great sense of what's in it, a great sense of your journey, your learning more about your father and your pathway of forgiveness, and all tied into this, as it's been called, the final pilgrimage. It's out there right now. It's beautiful, by the way. The cover is wonderful, and it's very accessible. It's got the writing is very easy to read on the paper, which I find a great advantage. Michael, thanks so very much indeed. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. That's Michael Harding. He's a #1 best-selling author, of course. His latest book, I Loved Him From the Day He Died, My Father, Forgiveness and a Final Pilgrimage. It was released at the start of this month. It's available right now in hardback and also audiobook and ebook. So if you want to get your hands on that, you can check it out, your usual places where you buy good books. And we appreciate Michael's time. Great interview, Greg. I could listen to Michael Harding all day. Can we have him for our next President of Ireland, please? I didn't get a chance to ask him that, but maybe he'll be too occupied writing his next great piece.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Hello, it's Bridget here from McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles in Buncrana. We're celebrating 50 years of business with a golden ticket giveaway. From now until October 25th, visit our showroom to enter the draw for a chance to win an ensuite makeover worth €2,500. The lucky winner will be revealed on October 25th during our special 50th anniversary celebration. So don't miss out. Shop today and be part of the excitement. McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Cockhill, Buncrana. Trusted for over 50 years.
Looking for a technology partner to help you reach your business goals? With cybersecurity solutions from Vodafone, your business can hack off the hackers. And with our collaboration tools like Microsoft 365, your business can bring the team together, wherever they are. Keeping your business secure and productive. Make technology work for you with solutions and support from Vodafone. Search Your Business Can today.
Irish factories lagging €400 per head behind UK. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we analyse the massive gap that has opened up between beef prices here and the UK. Hopes for solution to farm inheritance tax chaos. Urgent warning from Department on importing blue tongue. New €300 million share buyback scheme in Kerry. Donegal farmers club together to protect rural veterinary service. Plus, don't miss our timeline and all your key farm payments in the coming weeks. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
I'm making a move. Looking for real choice? Leave diesel behind and make the move to Toyota Hybrid Electric at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. World-leading hybrid electric technology, lower emissions driving, with the widest choice of hybrid electric models from Ireland's best-selling car brand. With flexible payment options available, make the move today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. If you haven't started using the McElhinney's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Rightio, let's have a look at that weather forecast then for today. Sunny spells, scattered showers mainly in the west and north, on the cool side of normal for October. Highest temperatures of 8 to 10 degrees with light to moderate north to northwest winds. I've been told that there has been a collision at the Kilross Junction on the Letterkenny side. Approach with care, please. I've no indication of the seriousness of it, but certainly you'll be doing those involved and the emergency services a great favour if you approach there with caution. Oh my God, more waste of money. What about all the new staff that they were meant to hire to help process these people? If money was out of their pockets, then there'd be a big difference. That's the 7.6 million on consultancy just to assist with the whole Ukrainian situation. Fantastic interview with Michael Gregg. He's a fantastic man indeed. A caller says it's important to forgive the dead for any harm they may have caused you, and likewise to ask their forgiveness for yourself if you have caused them harm or grief. Jesus, they say, he's a perfect moderator. Brilliant interview with Michael Gregg. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That comes in from Moya. Thank you, Moya. And, you know, like, we go around life and struggle and carry things, and it can make life very difficult. I'm fortunate in that this does not apply to me. A lot of stuff we talk about, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't apply for me in this. It doesn't apply to me in this situation. But you know, sometimes you do have to let things go and try and find peace within yourself. I read that we are making headlines abroad with the amount of money that's being made by the providers of asylum accommodation. A company that was only created 3 months already had a government contract. Funny, the rich and their friends always know how to make money off a disaster. What a waste of Irish taxpayers' money, believes that listener there. During the RTE primetime programme of calves being abused in Egypt, Minister Charlie McConalogue refused to come on and speak about it. If we can't ask our Minister for Agriculture about animal abuse, who do we turn to? I don't know what the situation was in relation to the primetime documentary, but this caller says he refuses to come on air and won't go on primetime either, yet he's at every pier opening for the photo opportunity. Someone higher up in Fianna Fáil should get him on and tell him that he has to do media. I suppose it's all up to him what he chooses to do or not to do. And I want to give a mention to a new feature here from Highland Radio, and it's online / Facebook exclusive, and it's our lunchtime lives. This Thursday at 1 p.m, that's today, we're bringing our latest lunchtime live from Cooney's Christmas shop. It's on Facebook. They'll be talking all things festive and seasonal and the latest Christmas decorations, whether you're getting your home ready for Christmas or just love that festive feeling. We've got you covered, plus expert tips right from the team at Cooney's. And we want you to get involved. Feel free to send us your question during the Facebook Live and they'll answer them right there. So don't miss it. Join us Thursday at 1 p.m. on Facebook. That's Highland Hub for Highland Radio's Lunchtime Lives, live from Cooney's Christmas shop. Okay. Now, that's where we'll have to leave it for now. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after we take the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments brings Smokey and their hits tour to the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny on Saturday the 15th of February 2025. Playing all the classic hits including Living Next Door to Alice, O Carol, Mexican Girl and many, many more. Relive the 70s and 80s with Smokey. Tickets on sale now from the Mount Errigal Hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's a power drill in Portlaoise or guttering in Galway, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
Imagine a wedding venue that can be hired exclusively for you and your guests. Picture stunning views overlooking one of Donegal's most scenic beaches, an authentic country manor as your accommodation, incredible glass-fronted marquee views all day, and a team of experts who want to help you plan every step of the way. Sounds too good to be true? Not at Drumhalla House in Rathmullen. It really has to be seen to be believed. Visit drumhallahouse.ie or check out Drumhalla House on Instagram for more details.
Eurodreams is the new game from the National Lottery, where you could win €20,000 a month for the next 30 years. That's €20,000 every month for 30 years. Draws take place every Monday and Thursday, so pick up a Eurodreams ticket for your chance to win.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
On Business Matters this week, I'll be looking at the new auto-enrolment pension scheme, the Ballybofey and Stranorlar Chamber Business Awards Night, plus plans for a sustainable fashion pop-up shop in Inishowen. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Find out more about the Energy Efficiency Grant, aimed at helping businesses to operate in a more sustainable way by visiting localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Housing Department has announced an increase in the cap and rates of the defective concrete block grant scheme. The changes will see the scheme's cap increase by 10% to €462,000. Square foot rates are to be raised by between 7 and 9%, and ancillary grants are to increase by 10%. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien says the increased rates will be applied immediately. Minister Charlie McConalogue has also given a commitment that they will be applied retrospectively also.
Under the current legislation, the Minister can introduce regulations immediately to apply the new rates for any new entrant to the scheme. And also in the Cabinet decision approved the Minister and committed the Minister to now drafting the legislation and the amendment to the legislation to be able to apply it retrospectively. So that's legislation which will now be drafted.
Well, 100% Redress Party PRO Councillor Ali Farn has given the announcement a cautious welcome.
It might be more of an election stunt at this stage. It might be, while it is welcomed at the moment, the thing is, it's still not enough for people who haven't the money to get on the scheme. Building rates have increased dramatically. Builders are bogging the arm until a lot of these jobs as well, which maybe has to have another look at it. But I would be a bit optimistic from a point of view that we've got the rates up, but they're still not enough.
Meanwhile, Donegal County Council has issued a statement reassuring defective block homeowners that there has been no manipulation of the homeowners engineer's recommendations to match that of the housing agency decisions. It's after an article in The Ditch contained allegations that the council had edited more than 20 remediation applications under the enhanced effective concrete block grant scheme without the applicant's knowledge to effectively downgrade the remediation to a cheaper option. Joe Caulfield reports.
Donegal County Council has totally rejected the claims made in The Ditch, but admitted there was an error in their online portal, which a spokesperson says wrongly mapped the housing agency decision into the display field for the homeowner engineer recommendation. This, they say, resulted in the decision of the housing agency being displayed in the recommendation of the homeowner's engineer data file. The council says this has now been fully resolved. A statement issued by the local authority says all 380 applications that have received a housing agency decision since the commencement of the enhanced scheme have been checked and all now display the correct information. The council also totally rejects claims that staff have worked in an underhanded way to minimise the grant and remedial solution for homeowners. In concluding its statement, the council apologised to homeowners and their competent building professionals for any distress, confusion and frustration.
The full statement is available on our website, highlandradio.com. Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte has told the Dáil she wants to see a report assessing the extent to which the recommendations of the Brandon report have been implemented. She was responding in the Dáil to Deputy Thomas Pringle, who asked if the report being compiled by Colm Lahan will be published and whether it finds flaws with the HSE's response to Brandon. Minister Rabbitte promised she will publish the report, whatever it says, telling the Dáil that the people have a right to know. However, Deputy Pringle says the decongregation of Ardna Grania, one of the central recommendations, hasn't happened yet.
I've been dealing with this since, I think it must be
since about 2016. It still hasn't been decongregated yet, and it hasn't happened, Minister, because the HSE aren't working at it, and that's a problem. And will your report say that when it comes out?
I want to see advocacy has been addressed. I want to see that the voices of the individuals are being heard.
The landmark planning bill, which the government believes is the key to solving the housing crisis, has passed through the Oireachtas. Changes to Bord Pleanála and the process for taking judicial reviews are contained in the Planning and Development Bill, but opposition parties have criticised it, saying it won't make the processes easier at all. Sinn Féin's housing spokesperson Ona Bryn thinks it will have the opposite effect.
Literally all of the organisations and bodies who will have to use this, people who make planning applications, people who will decide on planning applications, has been saying very, very loudly the government has got this terribly wrong. And a bill that was actually meant to clarify and simplify the planning law has done the very opposite.
The owner of Tata Consultancy Services, which has a base in Donegal, has died at the age of 86. Ratan Tata, one of India's most internationally recognised business leaders, led the Tata Group for more than 2 decades and employed around 660,000 people globally. The company established its Letterkenny base after purchasing Primerica Systems Ireland in 2020. Weather now, sunny spells and scattered showers today. Cool with highest temperatures of 8 to 10 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can get up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice says for this Thursday morning, October the 10th. The death has taken place of Patsy McGonigal, 67 Murlock Road, Glenmornan, reposing at his home today from 12 noon. Funeral leaving his home on Saturday morning at 11:20 for Requiem Mass in St Joseph's Church, Glenmornan at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to the Foyle Hospice, Kev Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Daniel Danny Brogan, Rocktown, Fulcara. Funeral Mass this afternoon at St Finian's Church, Fulcara at 1 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. And the death has taken place of Stephanie Gallagher, Fir House, Dublin 24. Removal from her residence this morning to the Church of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Fir House, arriving for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass. Following Mass, the funeral cortege will leave for Our Lady, Star of the Sea Church, Annagray, County Donegal, with expected time of arrival at 5:30 this evening. Funeral Mass in Annagray tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, donations if desired, to St Patrick's Missionary Society. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Yeah, we're good mates, yeah. Look, I'm always there for him, 100%, through thick and thin. And sure, he likes having me around. Anytime he's going out, I'll get the shout, you know? And someday, I'll probably kill him.
Smoking isn't the friend you think it is. Quit for 28 days and start taking back control. Find out how at quit.ie or free phone 1800 201 203 from the HSE.
Just listening to Michael Harding, says the listener, it's inspired me to visit my dad's grave and buy Michael's book. Thank you, Greg. Brilliant, and I hope that is very worthwhile to you and that makes you feel better. Greg, one of the most enjoyable interviews I've listened to. Thank you for that. Another, Greg, that interview was an inspiration. Could you just name the book again, please? Of course I can, and I hope I did the book justice. It's called Michael Harding, I Loved Him from the Day He Died. My Father, Forgiveness, and a Final Pilgrimage. And as I said to Michael, it's very easy to read. Some books, I find the text is too small and it doesn't sit well on the colour of the page, but this one, quite easy to read. And also there's an audio version of that book as well. I meant to ask Michael if he actually reads that book himself, because I think that often sort of, adds more weight with, especially with a voice like Michael Harding's. Right, okay. Lots of you texting in relation to Sinn Féin and the ongoing controversy that's surrounding them, and it's been whipped up by government parties, as you can imagine, in the mouth of an election. Hi, Greg. In relation to the Sinn Féin reference scandal, where two senior members supplied character references for a suspected child abuser at that time, I've slightly changed the wording there because at that time it was allegations. Mary Lou firing allegations at other parties is a bit rich given Sinn Féin's consistently awful record of dealing with internal cases of sexual abuse. Members of the party are aware that the party code of conduct is weaponised and generally only applied against members who dissent against party policies as a mechanism to ostracise and remove dissenters. In this case, if the media hadn't covered the story, no action would have been taken. There are many examples of this. The statement that Sinn Féin will overhaul its governance systems is nothing more than shallow electioneering, believes the listener. Another recurrent scandal within the party's ranks. Does Sinn Féin now stand for sex fiends? I'm sure the party would say no, they don't. I just heard someone say back from Malaga and stake €14. Well, we go twice a year, and I can definitely say if you want to have a minute steak or a good sirloin, the prices are on par with Ireland. Yeah, you can get the cheap steaks, but that is what it is, cheap meat. That was a conversation from yesterday. Hi, Greg. Just wondering what the reaction from the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael leadership would have been if the toxic comments issued by the AG Paul Gallagher aimed at us here in Donegal had been directed towards Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael heartlands. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a heartland up here, isn't it? Fianna Fáil, certainly, anyway. Just to let you know, Greg, there is an Al-Anon participation at the convention in Jackson's Hotel on Saturday the 12th for family members and friends affected by a dear one's addiction to alcohol. And we were chatting to a gentleman yesterday who was talking about his experience and how his life has changed through the 12-step program. And he's enjoying his life after alcohol. And we were saying yesterday, if that's you, get along to Jackson's Hotel at the weekend and maybe your life could improve. Greg, just want to highlight there's been no doggy bags on the Moville Shoal Walk for the last 5 weeks. Then the council wants people to pick up after them. It's okay for a local person. They can bring a bag with them. But someone from outside the area will be caught short. Maybe you can look into this. There are to be replaced every week. Don't know what the hold-up is. Thanks. I'm not a current dog owner, and I understand what you're saying. We do have to make sure that we make these bags available so people can use them. But if you're a responsible dog owner, it doesn't matter if you're from an area or not. You should have these bags with you. And yes, you're right. They should be replaced. They shouldn't be absent. But also personal responsibility. You know, we a lot of people sort of be concerned about the overreach of the state in people's lives. And yet then we expect them to overreach and put doggy bags in our pockets effectively rather than look after that stuff ourselves. Right, okay. A couple of texts in actually concerned, saying it's a disgrace that we means test carers' allowance in this day and age. Yes, indeed, that is something that annoys people. I believe Sinn Féin is saying they'll get rid of that means testing, but we shall see. Hi, Greg. When, where, whom, what? The worst houses are supposed to be those in Inishowen and Letterkenny and related to the worst suppliers in the east of Inishowen. This is defective concrete. Have houses in other parts of the county received full demolition? What percentage of houses passed for full demolition are worse than those being downgraded? Yeah, all good questions. And questions, I think those even directly affected by the DCB scandal perhaps couldn't answer themselves. Let's take a quick break.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 10th of October, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €6,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 41. The jackpot number is 83. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 84, 36, 65, 2, 22, 9, 45, 32, 43, and finally 31. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The Hyundai 251 Open Weekend is happening October 12th and 13th with our most exciting lineup yet, featuring the all-new Santa Fe, stunningly reborn, redesigned and turning heads. Learn why so many Irish drivers love the new Tucson and award-winning new Kona, and be the first to hear the exciting news about our all-new, all-electric Inster.
Visit the Hyundai Open Weekend this weekend at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Testing. Do you need to get your hearing tested? Test your hearing with a free sample hearing aid from Hidden Hearing. Order your free sample hearing aid today. Call 1-800-370-000 or visit hiddenhearing.ie.
People all over Ireland have smart meters, just like Niall.
After mine was installed, I signed up for a free ESB Networks online account. Anyone can, regardless of who their supplier is. Now I actually understand how I'm using my electricity. This has helped me pick a tariff that's right for me.
Niall's Home is just like the other 1.8 million homes in Ireland that have a smart meter. Start seeing how your smart meter can work for you and sign up for your free online account at esbnetworks.ie. Join us to deliver a smarter, cleaner electric future. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Now, we've all been taking an interest, I think, in Hurricane Milton. Unfortunately, deaths have been reported, emergency services suspended, and roofs ripped off a stadium at Milton as it smashes into Florida. It is now making its way through Florida, exiting out the other side. And I suppose day will break, and we'll get a full sense of the impact of this hurricane. Tom Byrne is from Ireland, living in Florida. He joins us now. You'll know the Byrne brothers. They're from Donegal. They lived here for quite some time and would have performed in Harvey's Point and many other places. Tom Byrne, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you keeping?
Good morning. Relieved, I think. We just had the worst of it about an hour ago, and it was very scary. But the house is still intact, and we didn't get hit by any tornadoes.
Were you in an evacuation area, or where are you located on the peninsula?
No, we were very lucky. We live in Orlando, about 10 miles south of Disney. So we had no flood issues here.
And I was watching some of the live cams actually just earlier on in the show from Orlando. So that's about an hour ago. Still very unpleasant. Not much traffic on the streets. That being said, it is overnight as well. But you could still see the city being battered by probably the tail end of this hurricane.
Yeah, it was unusual because it was our first hurricane. But the noise is just something incredible to live through. It's like a train. They say it's like a train, but it is like a train, and then it howls, and when the gusts get really strong, the whistles and the weirdest kind of noises and banshees go through your head. It's really, really, really frightening.
Are you hearing anything, Tom, locally from sort of the western side of Florida? I suppose the areas that bore the brunt of this hurricane, south of Tampa and north of Cape Coral, I believe, really got the brunt of it if it didn't change overnight.
Yeah, I think it didn't take out Tampa as bad as they expected, and this water washed back out to sea. But a lot of damage done. A lot of damage from tornadoes. There was about 21 tornadoes touched down along our stretch between Tampa and Orlando. So a lot of damage to be seen in the morning.
Yeah, and it was really interesting and we can now because the way we analyse these storms, it was really interesting and scary to see how sort of the outer the outer circular motion of this started creating these tornadoes, centrally and in the east of Florida, and some of the footage of them, these were things that are not seen in this area. People might be familiar with them in other parts of the United States at other times of the year, but this is not stuff that's seen ordinarily in this part of the world.
No, I think that usually might see for a big tornado, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 tornadoes in a big hurricane like this. But this was unprecedented, like over 20 touchdowns. 33 touchdowns.
Wow, unbelievable stuff. And also too, you have to feel and we'll only really know the true extent of this in the hours ahead. I think some people think that people stubbornly stick to where they are. But there's lots of people are unable to move because of their age, because of finances, no alternatives, no way to fuel or gas the car. God help them, and we don't know what fate what fate has fell to them yet. We will in the coming hours, but it's very, very sad.
Yes, I heard of one retirement community of mobile homes got taken out by one of the tornadoes. So I'm sure there's going to be terrible stories coming from that. That'll be one of many, I'm sure.
And of course, this is the second hurricane in a couple of weeks as well too. So whilst the cleanup operation was ongoing for Hurricane Helene, here we go again with this hurricane battering Florida.
Yeah, the big problem was the leftover debris. They managed to pick up about 70% of it. The councils were great, and the National Guard, they were out in force, and they managed to pick up 70% of it, which would have usually taken about 3 months to pick all that much up. But they got it up in like 4 days. And so we will see in the morning how they fared out.
Nationally, and of course, the way things are now globally, there's been a bit of politicizing over the hurricanes and the responses to them. I suppose as a Floridian living there now, do you be aware of that? Does that pee you off and say, look, we just need help. We don't need anyone point scoring? And I'm not taking a blue or red stance in that question. It's just literally anyone who might politicize these disasters.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone gets the looked after the way they should be. It doesn't matter what state you're in, but the government just has to get the funding and the resources out to people, especially up in the Western North Carolina, because they've had the worst of it all.
Yeah, indeed.
Unbelievable.
And some of these places are set up on the western side of Florida, if my geography correct, but they're islands and communities right in the sea that are designed for holiday makers or what have you that aren't designed for this, and it'll be worrying and interesting to see how impactful this hurricane has been on them. You talked about what the experience of it was like. Is it the strength of the winds, but also how sustained they are? Because I think in Ireland very rarely get storms, but even the worst storm that we can think of here, this is on a scale way above that. Was it the sustained wind, that train noise that you described? Is that what was most worrying?
Absolutely. And it's very strange. You can feel the air pressure sucking and blowing in and out of the house, like it's trying to blow your door down and blow your roof off, like, I don't know, like trying to burst a packet of crisps or something.
Wowzers.
It's really insane, yeah.
Okay, well, listen, we're delighted that you've got through it okay, and we wish the same for everybody else there too, especially those who couldn't leave, and we just hope that fatalities and injuries are at an absolute minimum. We'd love to say zero, but unfortunately we know already that that's not the case. And let's just hope now Florida gets a break.
Thanks a million. And thank you all to all the amazing well wishes we've been getting from all over, people from Donegal and all over the world. It's great the way people come together in times like this.
Okay. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the life you're leading over there now, Tom, but I don't think it would be appropriate at this time. But maybe we'll touch base again. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye. Tom Byrne from Donegal, living in Florida. The Byrne brothers, they're from Donegal. They lived here for 12 years. As I say, they performed a number of... They did the cabarets down at Harvey's Point, I seem to recall, but other stuff as well. And they're expressing their thanks to everybody who has been in contact with them. I think it's 5:23 there, so it's still darkness. I could see over Tom's shoulder outside, and it did appear to still be dark. Greg, I'm compelled to correct this error in your conversation with Michael and any other person who talks about dead relatives in this way. Saying or thinking that your deceased people know what's going on after they pass away is not spiritual, it's spiritualism, which is not of God and not biblical. The Holy Bible states quite clearly that the dead are just dead. And they go on to quote Ecclesiastes 9:5. For the living know they will die, but the dead know not anything. Neither have they more a reward. Their memory is forgotten. Our dead are asleep in their graves, awaiting the resurrection when Jesus returns. Any other belief is anti-God. Both my parents are deceased too. Listen, I get where you're coming from, and to be honest with you, that would make me feel less interested in religion, that kind of a commentary, to be honest with you. I believe what God would like is God would like people to be at peace and happy on earth. And if that means that they believe that their family are with them or around them or sending them messages or awaiting them, then that is okay. That makes them feel good. And that's their belief system. And I don't really believe any belief system overrides another between individuals, if you know what I'm saying. But I respect your view. That's why I've read it out. And if that's how you want to view life and indeed death, well, so be it. I wish you nothing but happiness. But for others, they derive their peace and their comfort and their happiness on this earth amongst the living, thinking the way that they do. And I am live and let live. Hassan Hamad adds to the at least 128 journalists killed in Gaza, greater than the number of journalists killed throughout the Vietnam War, says a listener. The Committee to Protect Journalists record no conflict coming close to these numbers since its creation in 1992, and now the media have turned their attention to Lebanon. The slaughter in Gaza has been minimised. Ongoing Israeli terror perpetrated by armed settlers and the IDF barely warrant a mention. We're no different to our forebears in Europe during the 20s and 30s, but why should we think we could be any different? Kind regards, Dr. Thomas. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. And of course, too, you didn't mention Syria. There's an awful lot going on in Syria as well. Israel also bombing parts of Syria, and a very pointed warning from Israel as to what fate belies Iran. So it's messy in all different directions there. Hi, Greg. I'm currently living and renting a house belonging to Donegal County Council in Newtown, Cunningham. There were numerous issues that arose within and around the property since the start of this year and the end of last. I had contacted the council numerous times in relation to issues via the phone and emails. I'd also been in contact with 3 local councillors who were also in contact with Donegal County Council. The repairs and maintenance team from the council called out to the property on the 26th of April 24. They had said the issues were not a priority, and if they had the time in the winter, they will get it done, if they're free or available. The issues are a priority and should have been acted upon as soon as possible, but as we speak, they're still not done. There are roof tiles that are damaged on the roof of the property, need replacing, damp cracks on the sitting room wall. Atop, they go right around the room. Windows need seals and handles replaced. I had also the newspaper based in Letterkenny out to the property. They had taken photos and published an article 2 weeks ago. I'm just wondering, is there any others in such a similar situation, and how did they go about it, as I feel I'm being completely ignored all the time. The council won't speak on the phone, and they never replied to my emails. The councillors were onto the council numerous times on my behalf. What's the point in paying the rent if they're not going to look after the outside of the property or the repairs needed done? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, and I know it's very personal to you because it's your house and you're concerned about it and you want it fixed as soon as is possible. I would imagine the repairs and maintenance team, they're also, I wouldn't be surprised if they're also shoring up properties that are affected by defective concrete where windows are gapped and all that type of stuff. I can imagine they're very stretched. I really can, with everything that's going on. You know, not just the regular maintenance of the housing stock, but also remedial work to try and keep defective concrete block homes as habitable for as long as possible. Maybe they need more resources. I'm sure it's nothing personal. I don't think you're being ignored because it's you. I just imagine that those teams are very, very stretched. Maybe they need more resources. I don't know. But we've heard your view. Hi, Greg. Can you put tomorrow on your show that Local Link are doing more services from Greencastle to Letterkenny starting Monday, but it's up the fares from €7 to €12.50 return from Greencastle. What's up with that? I don't know. But apparently, yes, there are more services, but the fares increased really quite significantly. So are you saying, and get back in touch with me here, are you saying the fare that ordinarily was €7 the exact same run and route is now $12.50, because that represents a more than 50% increase. We'll make inquiries with Local Link, but I'm just curious. Your text is very well worded, don't get me wrong, but are you saying that the same route from Greencastle to Letterkenny, which was once €7, is going up to $12.50 on Monday? Just clarify that, and that means that we can be more clear in our inquiries with the company.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
The showpiece event of Donegal Gaelic Games takes place this weekend. St Eunan's and Dunloe battle to be crowned senior football champions. Dunloe are making their first appearance in the final for 6 decades, while St Eunan's are chasing the Dr. Maguire Cup for the 3rd time in 10 years. Oisin Kelly, Brendan Kilcoyne and Martin McHugh will have live commentary this Sunday at McCool Park in Ballybuffet from the 4 o'clock throw-in. Coverage of the Donegal Senior Football Championship is with Highland Motors in Letterkenny. Not sure if you want diesel, petrol, hybrid or electric? Highland Motors have a selection to suit everyone. On site, both new and pre-owned.
Let's talk about lamb. Quality assured lamb. There's so many ways to enjoy its natural flavour. Like tender lamb pieces for a midweek teriyaki stir fry. Or succulent lamb chops, delicious with minty couscous. And for the weekend, a leg of lamb with rosemary that the whole family will enjoy. For great meal ideas, visit boardbia.ie/recipes. And always choose lamb with the Boardbia quality mark, so you know it's produced to Boardbia's high standards, verified at every stage.
Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Loncome have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Loncome products, Want to Be Skincare, and you will get a free 7-piece gift containing a 50ml cleansing milk, a choice of Absolute or Hydrocyn travel size creams, and more iconic Loncome products. This is available until Saturday the 19th of October or while stocks last. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to Gemma or myself here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Do you know the Muffin Man? As in me, Mick, the Muffin Man Madeiros. Imagine how excited I was when I heard that Centra are now serving egg muffins. And not just any egg muffins, gloriously delicious egg muffins with the legendary Super Queen sausage. So go on, make your breakfast so much better and grab yourself one today at Centra.
Discover the hidden gem of Letterkenny, La Papa Kitchen and Coffee House, where you can indulge with friends in delicious Buddha bowls, pastas, light bites and organic coffee. There's something for everyone to enjoy. Remember the name, La Papa, located next to KO Fitness and McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Road. Open 7 days a week.
Now, I'm not sure if this is brand new information or repackaged off the back. Well, it follows on from a conversation we had on the programme yesterday. But we're being told that a full-time consultant neurologist is to be appointed at Letterkenny University Hospital. As you would know, there's been quite a great deal of upset that people are being forced to undertake round trips to Sligo and find it difficult to have an appointment at Letterkenny University Hospital because the person is only there once every 2 weeks, I believe. They themselves feel stretched as a result of that. But apparently, a dedicated neurology services has been in the pipeline for some time at Letterkenny University Hospital. An announcement has been made today that Cabinet colleague of Charlie McConalogue, Minister for Health Stephen Donnelly, is to appoint a full-time consultant neurologist and a clinical support member at Letterkenny University Hospital, and that is budgeted for in Budget 2025. And Letterkenny University Hospital is one of 5 regional hospitals that have been given the go-ahead to appoint a full-time neurologist. €2 million is being invested to expand neurology services. And that is an announcement that was sent to us there by Minister Charlie McConalogue there. Right, so you will have seen the article, and we referenced it yesterday, an allegation against Donegal County Council that it secretly altered more than 20 homeowners' applications for remediation under the state Mica scheme, as they've called it, without their knowledge. These secret alterations, as they've been described there again, made it seem like independent engineers hired by homeowners who had recommended extensive repair options had made the same recommendations as housing agency hired engineers who mostly recommended cheaper repair options. Homeowners and engineers criticised the housing agency for using an outdated standard for assessing the homes, with one engineer accusing the agency of knowingly using an inappropriate standard. But anyway, the ditch claimed it had new documents which reveal cases where applications to the scheme have had their original engineering reports changed to reflect the cheaper repair works ultimately recommended by the state. Now, Donegal County Council had been attributed to them that it was a minor technical glitch. But I'm delighted to say I'm joined on the programme by Michael McGarvey, who is the Director of Water and Environment with responsibility for the private Enhanced Effective Block scheme. So I presume initially, Michael, I presume it's caused upset with the way this has been framed. Now, we'll get to the point whereby, yes, there has been an error. Yes, the council are putting their hands up. But I think the suggestion, perhaps what would probably hurt most, is the suggestion that this was intentional or in some way an underhand calculated approach by the council.
Good morning, Greg. And yeah, look, that's the first thing the first thing I want to reassure homeowners that have applied under the scheme that there's been no manipulation of the reports. That's in the first instance. You know, we can go on and talk about there has been an error in the on the online system where we basically reflected the housing agent's decisions opposite the homeowner on one form. But that was an error. It's been corrected. But I absolutely want to assure people there's been no manipulation. The original reports that have been submitted by the engineers, they're actually have been in touch. It's something we can't change those. So that's just the first thing I want to say.
So just to be absolutely clear in relation to that, because of this glitch, what was reflected visually, what appeared to be the case, whilst that glitch did demonstrate that, the glitch never actually adjusted the report. So this was just a visual error, but the reports still were as they were all along and were never changed.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the case. And maybe just if you happy, Greg, just to talk through, you know, to remind the public out there, you know, to talk through it, what the process is for making applications here. Since the new scheme was launched in July last year, all applications, new applications, go straight to come to Donegal County Council. We validate them and we forward to the housing agency for their initially for assessment of damage threshold and then for determining the appropriate remediation option. Any applications that were received before July last year, there were 1,296 of those. 849 of those had been determined by Donegal County Council. We responded directly to those 849, and there was no change in what was visually represented for any of those. The other homeowners that the decision hadn't been made at the time of the new scheme, their reports, including their competent building professions recommendations, were forwarded to the housing agency. The housing agency then makes its decision on those. And we've heard it's been in the media about, in some cases, that the decision that they make is different from the recommendation. And there's been, you know, quite a bit of publicity about that. But we have no part to play at all in making that decision and affecting that decision or influencing that decision. When that decision, then the housing team makes their decision, that's sent back to Donegal County Council. And we then advise homeowners by updating their online portal. And just, if you don't mind again, first of all, there's an email sent to the homeowners that contains basically the decision by the homeowner, by the housing agency and the amount. And it also notifies the homeowner on what to do next. They also then are advised in that email that their online portal is updated. There's reports there from the housing agency's chartered engineer. It can be up to 200 pages. It's too big to send directly, but it's on that is on the online portal. So we also send a text to applicants then to advise them of the update. So what happened then? There was the original report, the recommendation and report from their engineer remains completely unchanged. The report from the housing agency, in some cases that's different, and it was just in the display of that. That's something, if I can say, that this we became aware of this here on the 1st of October. It's only again in one part of form I've decided to go and print the form that it's noticed, but it obviously caused upset to people. And that there, we do absolutely apologise for any distress, both to the competent building professions and particularly the homeowners.
So
But
just
we-
so I'm clear, and sometimes, you know, I ask silly questions to get to the answer because I'm coming at this like a lot of people where I'm learning all the time. So the housing agency's recommendation replaced, in some cases, the independent engineers' findings. So what actually was displayed was actually coming back from the housing agency.
That's right. There was one field on there displaying the options.
Understood.
There's two fields on there now displaying the options. Just in the display part, one is the option sought by the competent building professional, and one is the housing agency approved option.
Now,
and that was if I can just say, Greg,
can I say, Michael, take your time on this, by the way, because we do appreciate you speaking to us, and I don't want you to feel rushed in this regard, because this is important, and it's in fairness to the council as well, and in fairness to the staff. Look, it's important we highlight where the public have concerns, but I also want to acknowledge that a lot of the staff working within the council on this are stretched, and also they're affected homeowners themselves in many cases. So it's important as well that we get to the truth. It might not be to the pleasure of everyone, but everyone gets their say. So I don't want you to feel in any way rushed, Michael, in that regard.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And look, as you said, we became aware of this issue on the 1st of October. We were in direct contact with in the first instance, one homeowner. We actually just immediately started to identify the source of the problem, and we had fully corrected by the 3rd of October. What we went back through then, and there's 380 such applications where they've gone to the housing agency. All of those have been checked. All of those fully reflect both the option sought and the option approved by the housing agency. And we were in contact directly with the first homeowner who we were in contact with, and then a number of others. And and we've clarified that. And I know as well that that, for example, competent building professions who may have somebody said, "Oh, you've recommended the wrong thing to me," that obviously would have caused some upset and stress. And we do acknowledge and apologise to homeowners and to them for that. It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But it was literally a display error. And I just maybe want
But it caused incredible distress.
Absolutely.
And I know you've recognised that, but it can't be underestimated. You know exactly, homeowners, what they're going through already and how difficult it is, but also to the potential reputational damage to competent building professionals, and mud sticks and feelings persist. So whilst it is a glitch, it's not without significant consequences either, which have been rectified, Michael, but I think you've acknowledged that anyway.
Yeah, and Greg, yeah, sorry, and in no way am I trying to just sweep over this. We do acknowledge, and that's why I started in the first instance, what the upset or worry that would that homeowners might be feeling or concerned, and as you say, the competent building professions. We have a very good working relationship with them, and I'd like to think that there will continue. We will continue to try and to continue to improve whatever scheme is there. We understand that there's new rates, etc. I think you might be talking about that later. But whatever, we will obviously have to modify again our systems to deal with these, and we've been doing work in the background on that there. But one thing I do want to say though about the public commentary about staff at the council. And there's some, like, unfortunately, social media, that it's sometimes easy to do so. But we'd just like to say that these people, you're right, we all know homeowners and have family members and others that are affected, and our staff are involved in that. And they have worked really hard to try and work with homeowners to administer this scheme, which we do on behalf of the department, on behalf of the government. And I just think that any suggestions and direct suggestions about the council working in an underhand way to somehow reduce the scheme is completely inaccurate and rejected. And I would ask that those people who are making those objections would please maybe refrain from that, because we understand the worry. We'll work with people to clarify. But I would say today that our telephone clinics, the defective concrete blocks grant scheme clinics, are open today from 9 o'clock this morning to 4 p.m. And we're happy to talk to any homeowners with any queries they might have. If for some reason people can't get through, even if they drop an email, and we can get back to them at a time that suits. And we do want to maybe to move on from this and to give that reassurance to homeowners that they need, and to the competent building professions.
All right. Now you've said, and it's relating to what we've just been talking about. You said that the council haven't manipulated or adjusted anybody's documentation or anything like that there. So I'd be very interested to get clarity on this. Who or what put do not use under enhanced scheme? Who applied that to people's documents? That wasn't the council then. And do you know where that would have originated from?
No, Greg, I'm not sure. I can't comment on that now. That wasn't something that's a recent thing, but that's no.
But it wasn't the council that wrote that amended people's applications with "do not use under enhanced scheme," because that was visible on the portal to some people who are in this scheme.
Greg, I'm happy to come back and talk about that again, but I can just assure that the main message here: Donegal County Council cannot amend anybody's application.
Yeah.
We can't.
Okay, so just to be clear on that, do not use under enhanced scheme. You're not aware of that, or you don't know how that ended up in people's documents?
No, I'll just get some detail on that, Greg, and I'll come back and
Brilliant,
talk.
okay. No problem.
Right,
And I know you will. I know you will. But it's just as I say, that was actually visible on the portal. Is there anything else, Michael, that you feel important for you to clarify? Because I'm conscious we had. We covered this yesterday, and I want you to feel that the council's getting a fair crack of the whip as well, or even to reassure people that, maybe there might be a perception that the council and the housing authority are in cahoots against the people. But I think the council are more on the people's side. They're just doing a service here, and some of these decisions, whether we like them or not, and I'm sure you can't comment on whether you like them or not, are being made by the housing agency.
Yeah, and look at it, it's not something I want to say that we certainly are not in cahoots with any agency or anybody in this regard. But then again, I wouldn't say that to say that we're more on the people's side and others. We genuinely want, and the staff working with us here, we'll work with the elected members, we'll work with the different groups, and we'll work with the home representatives and the department and the housing agency to try and actually to make sure we administer that as best we can. And I've no doubt there's things that we can do to continue to make it a bit easier for people out there. We've excellent facilitators out there who will help homeowners as well. And maybe just the main message here is that, again, we do apologise to homeowners and the building profession for any distress, any frustration, any confusion. There's absolutely no truth at all that we've manipulated any information. Any engineers' report that come in, they're available on the portal as they come in, and they're passed on.
But the changes, the downgradings, or however one wants to phrase them, they did come from the housing agency, but because of this IT error, they appeared to alter the engineer's report, but both the original engineer's report and the decision from the housing agency are there, and it's much more clearer now, and that was rectified around about October 3rd, and a review of the 380 has shown that the original documentations, the original recommendations are still there, whether they align or not to the housing agency's decision. That's also there as well.
Absolutely, and where they're at no stage or any of those changed, where they're on the portals for people to view, they can still go back and you can still see them unchanged. At no stage were any of those removed or altered or anything. It was a display. It was just one field that displayed the housing agency, and we've discussed that and we've addressed that.
Okay, and just to reiterate as well, for any clarification that is required, let me see, where is this press release? The Council's Defective Concrete Block Grant Scheme office telephone clinics are open Thursday the 10th of October, that's today, isn't it, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to assist with any queries homeowners may have. Okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, and for some reason people can't get through, that if they drop an email, because there may or may not be quite a few people there, and we'll deal with them as best we can. We will get back to people if they email us or call us and we can't get through. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for your time. Take care of yourself. That is Michael McGarvey there, the Director of Water and Environment with responsibility for the private enhanced effective block scheme. That is the view of the council. That is their statement. That being said, we still await a response. I'm going to chase this up. Michael, and he's committed to look at this for us as to how do not use under enhanced scheme applied to some people's documents, and I believe it was visible to them as well. We'll give Michael all the details that we've received in relation to that and bring that clarity and that answer to you. Michael alluded to the fact that the Housing Department has announced an increase in the cap and rates of the defective concrete block grant scheme. The scheme cap is to be increased by 10%. It will go up to €460,000. Square foot rates, which is really important because the houses are priced for rebuild on square foot rates. Often that comes in less than the 462, or it could be above it for that matter. Everyone doesn't get €462,000 to do whatever they want with their home. The square foot rates, they've been raised between 7 and 9%. So hopefully that will start meeting the costs more for people. Ancillary grants, they're going up by 10%. The adjustments will be applied immediately. Minister Charlie McConalogue has given a commitment, a cast iron commitment, that they will be applied retrospectively. And I think there's been a cautious response to this news by the 100% Redress Party PRO. We will have further reaction to that development in that story a little later on in the programme.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Nutria's Lamb Finisher ATP is now on promotion at your local Homeland. Buy 10 bags and get one free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. Nutria's Lamb Finisher ATP contains 16% crude protein for an ideal balance of energy and protein, with intake booster for faster finish. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrias.ie for full product details.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, supporting you with the right footwear. Hoka Trainers. Have you tried the Hoka Sensation yet? Hoka provides comfort, support and shock absorption, which makes them a good choice for frequent runners and walkers, or anyone whose job requires standing for the majority of the day. For support or pronation, try the Arari 6. For maximum cushioning, try Hoka Bondi 8. Check in store or shop online at bmcsports.ie. Step into our safe size experience at Brian McCormick Sports.
Irish factories lagging €400 per head behind UK. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we analyse the massive gap that has opened up between beef prices here and the UK. Hopes for solution to farm inheritance tax chaos. Urgent warning from Department on importing blue tongue. New €300 million share buyback scheme in Kerry. Donegal farmers club together to protect rural veterinary service. Plus, don't miss our timeline on all your key farm payments in the coming weeks. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Your friends said you were mad. Your family said it was risky. Your heart said, I can do this. But now a little voice inside is saying, what's next? Visa's She's Next grant programme is empowering women to take the next step with their small business, with a chance to win one of 5 grants worth up to €50,000 and professional coaching. You say, I'm ready. We say, you've got this. Apply now at visa.ie/she's next. Open to women-owned businesses operating in the Republic of Ireland. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. If you haven't started using the McElhenny's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. That was the weather, wasn't it? I'll let you know now that sunny spots and scattered showers, mainly across our region today. On the cool side of normal for October, with temperatures of 8 to 10 degrees and light to moderate north to northwest winds. Now, looking forward to chat to John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Greg.
You're born in Kerrykill. You lived in England. You moved to England. But you love coming back home, and we were talking a little earlier on about tourism season and trying to enhance the shoulders of the tourism season, or whatever the terminology was, and you've made an observation, or at least drawn on your own experience about that. So tell us the story.
Well, yesterday I was looking to get some information for some friends in England who want to come to Donegal for a holiday, and I went to the local tourist office, and I was quite surprised to find it shut. And
For
there was
lunch?
a notice on the door. Sorry?
Was it closed for lunch?
No, it's closed. There's a notice on the door saying this tourist information centre is seasonally operated. It will reopen, now you won't believe this, in June 2025.
My word. Okay. So if you're a tourist visiting on the shoulders of the tourism season, you can't go to a tourist office. Is this in Letterkenny, is it?
Letterkenny,
So
yes,
you
it's,
can't,
Ballyrain.
you can't go to the tourist office and pick up a few brochures or any, no information there at all?
The place was closed. I've been there before in the past, many a time, because I come to Ireland probably 3 or 4 times a year. I was born near Carrickeel, as you said earlier, a locality called Creve, and I've got the Irish blood in me all the time. And I was quite surprised at this. So I then went on to the hotel at the Errigal Hotel because I wanted to buy tickets for see Margot tonight. And whilst there, I spoke to the receptionist and asked her about it, and she was quite surprised. And she suggested I go to Atlantic Travel. They may give me some information. I did this. I went up to Atlantic Travel, and they only had documents on worldwide travel. Nothing at all on Donegal. So someone suggested I go to the library. So I went to the library, and fortunately, they had some brochures and leaflets, so I picked them up there. But I was quite surprised at the tourist office just not being open.
Wow. I admire your persistence, John. I can't imagine a tourist would have undertaken that journey you did to eventually get some information on things to do. That's really quite regrettable, isn't it?
It is, and it's a wonderful building just off the Polestar roundabout. And a couple of people that I spoke to during that little tour to get documents didn't even know where it was, and yet they live in the Letterkenny area. So it's not really highlighted enough, even locally.
Yeah, some crack though if you're from outside the area. You're not, of course, because you were born here. But if you landed at the tourism office and the sign said closed until June 2025, you're not going to hang around, sit in the car, and wait for them to open. Are you?
No, not at all. It was quite surprising, and the little things that irked me as well is there was no sign at the entrance to the drive-in from the road there saying that the place was closed. So I had to drive in off that busy road, sit there in a car, go and take a look, see notice, and yet another sign on the top of the door says it says keep discovering Donegal
from June next year.
But yes.
Listen, it's a really interesting point, John. I don't know what to say about it because, I think too, I don't want to put people in groups, but I think those that are visiting this area might be slightly less inclined to lean on the online side of things. That sometimes you want to get some documentation in your hands, or sometimes you want to actually go to, you want to speak to a person and say, listen, come here, what's Slieve League like this time of year? Or, how accessible is Ironmore Island? Or, basic questions that we know the answers to, but tourists wouldn't. And that option just isn't there in the biggest population centre in Donegal. Crazy stuff, it seems.
That's right. I'm of the older generation. I'm not computer literate, although I can get by at times. So I'm a sort of person like maps, for example. I like having a map to read and look at as I tour around Donegal. And the same with the brochures. I like to physically see it and feel it.
Yeah, I get you, John. Listen, come here. We're open all year round, 24 hours a day, so we'll never let you down. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for contacting us. And it's a really good observation. And I look forward to seeing what other listeners think, because it seems those in the know didn't know either. So what hope do tourists have? John, listen, thanks so much for your time. Are you home at the moment? Are you in Donegal at the moment?
I'm at a place just north of Rathmullen. I've got a holding home down here. I'm very fortunate.
Right.
And I love the place. And I'm looking out the window at the moment. The sun is shining. The view is beautiful. And why wouldn't you come to Donegal?
Well, put your feet up, have a coffee, and stay tuned for the last hour of the show. Thanks, John. Back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Carrickdone Autumn Shopping Event is here. 20% off almost everything in fabulous fashion, jewellery, gifts and home this weekend. Plus amazing Halloween offers. Shop 20% off in stores nationwide or online at carrickdone.com.
To mark its 550th anniversary, Donegal Town is celebrating with a weekend of events from this Friday the 11th to Sunday the 13th of October. Come along for cookery demos by award-winning chefs, the Donegal Producers Food Market, great entertainment, reenactments, the annals of the Four Masters on display, social sculpture trail and parade, and much more. See Donegal 550th on Facebook for full details. In association with Donegal County Council, the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, Fáilte Ireland, the Arts Council Ireland and the Kelly Group.
Do you own an XL Bully? If so, it's important to know that ownership laws are changing. From October the 1st, it's illegal to import, breed, sell or rehome an XL Bully. If you own one, you can apply for a certificate of exemption from your local authority between October the 1st, 2024 and February the 1st, 2025, which allows you to keep your dog until the end of its natural life. Find out more at gov.ie/XL Bully. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The Jive Time Show is coming live this Friday from McGurk's Golf, Letterkenny. To celebrate their first year in business in Donegal, there will be fantastic in-store offers on the day, plus a chance to show your golf skills with the longest drive and nearest the pin competition on their state-of-the-art golf simulator. So join us in-store at McGurk's Golf, 40 Retail Park, Letterkenny from 2:30 to 5 p.m.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Start your day right with Flavin's Quick Oats 500 gram, now half price. And do laundry for less with Ariel, Fairy and Bold detergent pods, 51 wash packs, just €11 each. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, and at 11 o'clock, it's time for a news update. We welcome back into studio Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Housing Department has announced an increase in the cap and rates of the Defective Concrete Block Grant Scheme. The scheme's cap is to be increased by 10% to €462,000. Square foot rates are to be raised by between 7 and 9%, and ancillary grants are to increase by 10%. Housing Minister Darragh Bryant says the adjustments will be applied immediately. Minister Charlie McConalogue has also given a commitment that they will be applied retrospectively. 100% Redress Party PRO, Councillor Ali Farron, however, has given the announcement a cautious welcome. Meanwhile, Donegal County Council has rejected claims that it manipulated engineers' reports submitted under the Enhanced Defective Concrete Block Grant Scheme. An article in The Ditch contained allegations that the council had edited more than 20 remediation applications under the scheme without the applicants' knowledge to effectively downgrade their remediation to a cheaper option. In a statement, the council says there was an error in their online portal, which a spokesperson says wrongly mapped the housing agency decision into the display field for the homeowner engineer recommendation. Disabilities Minister Anne Rabbitte has told the Dáil she wants to see a report assessing the extent to which the recommendations of the Brandon report have been implemented. She was responding in the Dáil to Deputy Thomas Pringle, who asked if the report being compiled by Colm Lahan will be published and whether it finds flaws with the HSE's response to Brandon. Minister Rabbitte promised she will publish the report, whatever it says, telling the Dáil that the people have a right to know. A full-time neurologist is to be appointed at Letterkenny University Hospital. It's part of increased funding for neurology services across the country, included in Budget 2025. Patients at Letterkenny University Hospital face lengthy wait times, with a visiting service in place, meaning a neurologist from Sligo holds clinics in Letterkenny just 2.5 days a week every fortnight. A senior figure in the Kinhin organised crime group has been arrested in Dubai. Sean McGovern is wanted for questioning over the murder of a man in Dublin almost 8 years ago. Justice Minister Helen McEntee says while she can't comment on any individual case, those involved in organised crime should know there is no hiding place and that they will face justice. Anishka Aaron is appealing to home and business owners in Ramelton and Milford to continue their efforts to conserve water. The utility is warning that an increase in water usage in the area and low lake levels at Milford has resulted in people being asked to take action to allow supply to catch up with demand and enable reservoirs to fully replenish. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
It's interesting about the water there because travelling past Loch Salt there, which I think services quite a bit of Letterkenny's water, it is noticeably low.
Oh, really? You think, the bit of rain would.
I know
but
it doesn't
work
and
like
it's a perfect bowl for it. All the rain that lands seems to go into it, but you could. It's what's I don't know. It seems about 10 feet
so
lower.
many issues,
But they say it's Ireland's deepest lake, so maybe
it's a bit scary.
Okay, don't be scared. Thanks, Michaela. That is Michaela Clark from the newsroom.
Hello, this is your captain speaking from the Red Click control room with an important message. Whether you're tired of jumping through hoops for car insurance or just looking for the best deal in town, remember this. Insurance that's easy, insurance that's quick. Whenever you need us, you just need to click.
For our latest offers, visit redclick.ie. Redclick. Insurance that just clicks.
Generali Seguros y Reyes Seguros SAU, trading as Redclick and Generali, is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pension Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Now, if you were listening just before 11, we were in the company of Michael McGarvey. He's Director of Water and Environment with responsibility for the private enhanced effective block scheme, and he was clarifying the situation as it relates to the story that's been carried widely, and you heard it referenced in the news there. But I did put it to Michael that some people found on documents it had been written or printed or whatever, do not use under enhanced scheme. And someone had asked if they haven't altered documents, who put this on and for what purpose. And Michael said he would look into it and get back to us. And true to his word, a very quick response. Michael, we do appreciate it. It's rather unusual for a guest to come back on so soon, but it's quite an important issue, this one. And maybe you have some clarification for us.
Yeah, Greg, I do. And again, I want to thanks for the opportunity to clarify that basically that we had increased numbers of staff working on the enhanced scheme after it was launched last year, was commenced. And there's different forms that people use for the original scheme, and there's different forms people use for the enhanced scheme. As you can imagine, that they're changed. It's like having a yellow form and a white form. And we had different templates that we issued to people. We were training staff and talking them through the process as new staff came on board. And those notes were just for that purpose only. It's like saying, don't use this yellow form or this yellow template for whatever. It literally is as simple as that. There was nothing more sinister or anything else to it.
So there was no information for, say, for instance, someone who was on the 9010 scheme and moved to the newer scheme. They weren't disadvantaged by do not use under enhanced scheme being printed on any documents. That was for staff internally, but
absolutely, there was nothing, and at no stage the scheme. Our job is there to administer, and as I said earlier on, our job is not there to withhold any money or any information or anything else we have from people, and that's very clear. It is obviously, as you want to imagine, we do want to try and make sure that we use the correct templates, the right letters, etc. We've just spoken about where maybe the wrong message appeared. It really is as simple as that. That was just, we want to make sure we had it on the standard template letters, and that was where it appeared there. It obviously no longer.
So this was as in the process of moving people from one scheme to another. So I just want to be absolutely clear. You're saying that no one was disadvantaged. So in terms of the do not use under enhanced scheme, if there was information on that form, right, and we weren't to use it on the enhanced scheme, does that not talk of a gap of information in the transition then? No?
No, well, I'd like it more just to clarify it. For example, there's now under the enhanced scheme that people put in a building, a BCA, a building competent assessment, and that there's what's now submitted by the engineer. So there's different information required. And obviously you want to be making sure that your application forms reflect that. So the older forms didn't reflect that, etc. And that's That's what it is, Greg. There was definitely no intention of withholding any information. It's all very transparent. What I would say, Greg, as well, and it's something when I started working this scheme on the Donegal County Council website. The first in the top right, there's an enhanced effective concrete blocks page there. All the information from the regulations, the act, the guidelines, all the sample things are on there for people to use. We try and be transparent as possible with them, and there is absolutely no part of this that was just holding information people were entitled to have.
Okay, so if there was information on these documents that now had do not use under enhanced scheme, the applicant would have been contacted to ensure there was no gap in information, that if there was a different form for the newer scheme. I hope I'm not confusing. I just want to cover every base while I have you. That in other words, their process, their application was not disadvantaged or held up by this. This was because everything's scanned and put on the portal. This was a line. This was an administrative line internally that just appears because everything's put on.
Yeah, and I would say just it's like if there was a white form and a yellow form. The yellow forms were basically different application forms for a different purpose, etc. And the same thing applied to some of the letters that would accompany the forms, and that was what that was about.
Okay, Michael, listen, thank you for that. I appreciate you coming back to us so quickly. Take care of yourself. All right, so that's the answer from the council. Hopefully it puts people's minds at ease, but maybe it doesn't go far enough and people are still inquisitive about it. I don't know, because I'm a little bit outside of it. I want to play a couple of requests, please, if you don't mind. And the first one is for a very important special lady. Can I play a request for Kathleen Doherty, Carn Ballabouffay? Kathleen is celebrating her 94th birthday today. Granny Doherty, as she's affectionately known, is hale and hearty and will be looking forward to all her visitors today to help her celebrate. Lots of love to you, Kathleen, from Siobhan, Tommy and all the family, and also from all of us and all of our listeners. Kathleen Doherty in Carn Ballabouffay, 94 today. Have a wonderful day, Kathleen. I'm sure you're going to be spoiled rotten. If you're not, we'll call around and make sure whoever should have does, but I know they will. Siobhan, Tommy and all the family and all your visitors, have a very, very happy birthday, and hopefully you're a listener and you're listening. I'm sure you are. Mum Margot Sweeney's in Stranalongford in Drumkeen. Happy birthday, Margot. That comes in from your son Niall across the water in Glasgow. Right. I See the Ditch had a story last night about the ability to get a mortgage on remediated homes under the DCB scheme. It says engineers need to certify remediated houses. How can they certify where these out of leave fixed leave defective materials? Well, this is something we've discussed extensively on this show, and it's been one of my key questions in the coverage for ages, especially if it's not complete demolition or if foundations are retained, is what guarantee is given that would satisfy a lending organisation. So I appreciate the Ditch covering this one, but this is one that's been a pertinent question for ages, and it's one I've yet really to get a concrete answer to, no pun intended. Then they go on to say, I heard Minister McConalogue say that banks have confirmed they will lend on repaired houses, yet to me the Ditch story makes sense. What is really happening here? I think until such time as someone tries to secure a loan on one of these properties, we will not know. How will a bank, even with indemnity or whatever it's phrased, how would a bank value a property that's had the outside of it changed but defective materials remain on the inside, block work or potentially in the foundations? Who's making that business case? How are they valuing the property? Are they valuing it on its resale value? Well, what is its resale value? Would you buy a house that hadn't changed its inner leaf, even with a document that would guarantee it for 20, 30, 40 years? I don't know how long it is. That is a biggie, and it's an obvious question, and it's one yet really that I've yet to get a satisfactory answer to. But we will persist. Good morning, Greg. What an interview with Michael Harding. It brought a lot of great memories back for me. Thank you, Greg. God bless. That comes in from a daily listener, and thank you so very much indeed. We never take for granted, all of you who listen to the show. We really do appreciate it. Nor do we take for granted those who watch the show. Now, there's close on 300 or 400 of you watching the show today, and I've only got 2 hellos from Kathy. Kathy's always there. Kathy Slevin, good morning to you, Kathy. And Kathleen Brady, good morning, Greg and all at Highland. Where are the rest of you? Say hello, folks. He's always say hello every morning. Not a sinner there. Yet I can see you watching. I can't actually see you watching, but I know you're there because I can see the figures, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you watching, but only the 2 Cathys, Kathy and Kathleen, have said hello so far today. All the news about the hurricane in Florida and people given a day's warning to move for safety. In Palestine, the Israelis give minutes to move with nowhere to go and then bomb you, possibly with US bombs. It's a strange world. It is a strange world. And we're strange beings as human beings. And we have to sort of compartmentalize and separate things out. And also, it's relative to the individual. I know exactly what you're saying, but not everyone is always, whether they should or not, going to frame everything else in the context of something else that's happening in the world. It's like, it's like when, if you're feeling down or something, or you're not happy or you're worried about something and someone says to you, yeah, but it could be this or it could be that, you should feel happy. It doesn't work like that, because it's what you feel inside. That you obviously, I get exactly where you're coming from, but not everybody's like that. The aftermath of the storm is what the people in Florida will be dealing with. There's very high water and power outages. The last storm is only being dealt with at the moment, indeed, and things, I imagine, are going to start becoming more clearly as day breaks over there. Back to DCB, 46 houses have been fixed since the DCB crisis began. It is more than 10 years since DCB has been brought to light. Not even 2 houses have been fixed a year. People are in distress and on nerve tablets. It's a disgrace, indeed. And we can only hope. I think everyone here wants the scheme to work. I don't think anyone really matters whether it's the current government scheme that is made to work for as many people as possible, whether it's a Sinn Féin scheme supported by 100% region, or whatever it is. I think really it is politicised because it's a decision that's being made at a political level. But at the end of the day, none of that will matter if we get a scheme that people can go to sleep at night thinking there's a solution to this. I can get through this. There's options here. And that's what we all want, isn't it? We want something that gets people back into fixed houses. Because we should never, ever, ever forget that people have committed, in many cases, to 30, 40 years mortgages. They've built their houses as their forever home, what they might give to their children, something that maybe some of us take for granted. And then it starts crumbling down around them. And it's not their fault. There was not proper oversight. There was not proper materials. And it's been an absolute battle to try and get a scheme to replace that. And that's the core of all of this. It's those people, our friends, our families, our neighbours, ourselves. And all we want is a scheme that's as broad and as fair as is possible, and doesn't leave a 60-year-old wondering how they're going to come up with 40 or 50 grand. No one surely wants that. Okay, well, anyway, I'm not sure if the changes to that scheme will change that much, or maybe it will bring many more. Maybe it'll bring... If he was, I'd be speaking to him right now, Caroline. Right now, and I wouldn't be waffling. Caroline asking if our next guest has joined us yet. And as I say, I wouldn't be sitting looking at him waffling. But anyway, let's take a break. We'll move on in the show after that.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
On Business Matters this week, I'll be looking at the new auto-enrollment pension scheme, the Ballybofey and Stranorlar Chamber Business Awards Night, plus plans for a sustainable fashion pop-up shop in Inishowen. So join me, Chris Ashmore, for Business Matters after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Find out more about the Energy Efficiency Grant, aimed at helping businesses to operate in a more sustainable way by visiting localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Short on time or just short on dinner ideas? Tesco's got you sorted with the no-fuss crafty chef range. Buy one main like sage and onion stuffed Irish pork fillet, 2 sides like potato gratin or garlic and herb baby potatoes, and 1 dessert like apple crumble, all for €15 with your Tesco Club card. Compliments to the chef, or whoever put it in the oven. That's dinner sorted. Shop in-store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Products subject to availability. Excludes express stores.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 91 266 88 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Swing into Christmas with James Huish and his band singing all your favourite Christmas hits with Europe's #1 Michael Bublé tribute at Angrinnan Theatre, Letterkenny on Saturday 21st of December. Tickets on sale from angrinnan.com and Venue Box Office. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
18 minutes past 11. A caller says no reference of these documents in the downgrade reports. Another says, why would new staff be dealing with these sensitive and important documents? Because they had to bring new staff in. I'm not a spokesperson for the council, but they had to bring new staff in and train them up on the systems, presumably because there simply wasn't enough staff there to deal with the responsibilities the council was given. Why did these comments directly cover documents relating to pyrrhotite? Michael was quite clear on it, and Michael was quite clear in that these documents were just simply not to be used with the DCB enhanced scheme, that they were of the old 9010 scheme and were no longer relevant. I'm not sure that goes all the way to answering your question. I love semantics, and I love our listeners, including this one. No harm. I'm a big fan of Highland, but if you ring at 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll not get much response. Open 24 hours, and this is me saying to John earlier, we're open 24/7. Now, give me a hug. Now, what I'm saying to you is we're broadcasting 24/7, right? But you know what? You might not ring. We might not answer at 3 in the morning. Tommy Rosnick could still be here. I don't know. But anyway, we won't answer 3 o'clock in the morning. But you can text us and we'll respond or read out your comment. Or you can email us. We'll chase that up. In fact, if you had an inquiry, we'll follow in. We are 24/7 in a way. Do we answer the phone 24/7? No. Do we broadcast 24/7? Yeah. Hi, Greg. I run a guest house and I got a lot of tourists staying, which is good news, isn't it? One thing they ask is, where is the local tourist office in Letterkenny? I tell them. Then they contact me to say it's closed. So I then find I have to start showing them on the computer all the tourist attractions and also print them off a map. I believe that if the tourist office is closed, maybe other premises should at least stock info of tourist attractions and maps. For sure. For sure. And I think it's up to the tourism agency to either staff it and have someone in there, even 12 to 4 daily, I don't know. But to have a sign up the door saying closed to June 25, does that mean Donegal's closed to June 25? Of course it's not. But would a tourist go, what, the county's closed to June 25? Maybe. They might. But I agree with you. If you're not going to open, at least make sure that there is important and key information in certain places. I think that's logical. And that's coming from a guest house owner. I wonder just how is business? Do you have good bookings later in the year? Have you noticed any change in people's habits? A little note, says a listener, to that tourist visitor. There is a wonderful Discovered Ireland display at Letterkenny Bus Station. Letterkenny Tourist Office has been seasonal, opening for a number of years. The office in Donegal Town is open all year with knowledgeable and helpful staff from a regular listener in Stranola. So the bus station, that's the Bus Éireann bus station, is it? I'll tell you about that bus station in Letterkenny. It's probably perfectly fine. I would never darken its door unless I was getting a bus, if the truth be told. A lot of tourists travel here different ways. The last place I would go looking for tourism information, and this is maybe a me thing, is to go into that bus station, to be truthful. It's just not... It's great that they have it for people getting off buses, but it's not where people would, I think, logically go. James, good morning to you.
Hello.
Hello, James. You were at the well-attended meeting last night as it relates to what's being taught to children in our schools.
That's right, Greg. Very concerning. I was concerned before I went to the meeting, but I'm more concerned now, but I didn't realise that this new thing for SPHE had actually gone back as far as 2019. Minister Sean Joe McHugh had he was Minister of Education at that time, and Joe was questioned about it and dismissed. Dismissed this coming on stream as nonsense. But I would love to know what Joe McHugh has to say. But it does matter at the moment, like. But anyway, Greg, the meeting last night, part of the content, I know it's a very sensitive issue, but some of the content, likes of 12-year-old boys or girls, that it's okay to have sexual intercourse, at 12-year-old.
But you don't think, I'm not being argumentative, James, by the way. I hope you know I'm just having a chat. With all due respect, you don't seriously think that teachers are going to tell 12 and 13-year-olds it's okay to have sex?
Well, teachers, I would really severely hope that teachers will have the common sense, but it's legally they have the right. This is in the document that they have the right to tell the teachers, to tell the pupils about this. The other thing that is coming in the next couple of years as well, Greg, is going to even go into national schools. It's not going to be just SPHE. It's going to be going into other subjects, and it's going into national schools where children, young national school children, will be making private bodily parts out of Play-Doh. That to me is totally unacceptable.
Just in relation to that, James, the Department of Education says that's not happening, and I think it's off the back of some teachers being asked to do that as part of a course on this whole area. Why teachers were asked to do that, I don't know, but I can't find anything in the curriculum, and the Department of Education has rejected that young children would be asked to make private parts out of Play-Doh. Right.
But there's an election coming up now, but for me, there was so much taken last night at the meeting, but there was over 100 people at that meeting, but I think that, parents would need to be more educated, and they would need to go into the schools and find out, because the right to educate about sexual stuff. I don't mind children being told the birds and the bees, kind of normal stuff, but there's a lot of the content and this thing now that, if me or you was caught with that content, the Gardaí would be informed, but somehow it's under the Department of Education and it seems to be acceptable. And for me, what I would say to parents, they need to be really, really concerned of what's coming downstream. It's played down as being nonsense, but this is not nonsense. This is actually happening, Greg. And in the next couple of years, it's going to be too late. There's a general election coming up now very shortly, and the TDs need to be asked what their stance is.
Yeah, but we have to make sure, we do have to make sure, James, and we all have a responsibility in this day and age, be it the media, political parties, or us as individuals, that we definitely get worried and concerns about what is real and what's not real. Now, the only thing I can say is this is all stemming from this teacher's video on YouTube, and that's where this all started. Now, much of what she's been saying in that video about watching cartoons of sex acts between heterosexual and homosexual couples and all of that kind of stuff, the DCU and also the Department of Education says none of that will ever be in the classroom, that's never going to be taught to children. She alleged that she watched a video depicting a female cartoon character pleasuring themselves, let me put it like that, and that this would be part of teachers' class-based assignments. But that's a DC.
Never going to be used.
Yeah, but that was
why is the content? Why is it not removed from the document if it's never going to be used?
It's not in the but it's not in the document. You see, everyone's talking about what was in the document, but it's not in a document. This is coming from this lady's YouTube. I've gone through the SPHE, which I think every parent should. It's all there. I don't understand why parents need to be told what their children are being taught in schools. And I'm sorry if that sounds a bit harsh, right? But all this stuff is available to view. The SPHE books, the guidelines, it's all there on the internet. It is a resource that any parent can look at. And yet we don't. We get shocked into thinking what they're going to make our kids watch porn in the classroom when they're not going to make our children watch porn in the classroom.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we have all the facts, I think, James, as parents, because life's stressful enough, isn't it?
Well, Mary T in the group last night, they had gone into a lot of detail over the last number of years from 2019. This is not just hearsay with them. They have done their homework on this, Greg, and people need to open their eyes to what is happening.
Yeah. Well, I touched on this. I touched on this in an interview with the Ain2 leader, Peadar Tobin, there a couple of days ago. It's well worth listening back to. I just think it's really important, especially for parents who are very easily startled, that there is the education minister, and we can call her out if this happens. Listen, we'll definitely call her out in it. She says there's no graphic material like pornography ever shown in schools. There are pictures, maybe cartoons, which I saw, of male and female genitalia, but we want our kids to know when someone's doing something to them that's not right too, don't we?
Yeah. The thing, it's not the same thing, but I just, my point is, people get, to me, one of the messages from the meeting last night, people need to get on the school, get more involved with the school, as I will do myself, on school councils, and know more what's going on with the children. But to me, I'd be very open-minded, but this, to me, is wrong, Greg.
Yeah, okay. And I respect that. I do respect that. And I hope you don't think I'm being argumentative, and I think we all need to work together, because there's one thing, and anyone who listens to this show regularly, there's only one thing that's very, very important to me in all of this, is that whatever we do, it's to protect children, it's to the benefit of them, it's not to harm them, it's not to give them information that's not age appropriate, and it's not to... It's just to make sure whatever we do in all areas, and I think, people will know what I'm talking about, that we make sure that what we're doing is actually good for children and not harming them. And I think conversations like this, James, and I think meetings like last night are important, that we maybe take the opportunity to find out precisely what's being taught to our children. We don't need to know in terms of maths or geography or history, but if this is important to people, they need to ask their principal or something to host a meeting where parents can ask what's being taught to their kids. And then they can rest assured, or otherwise.
Yeah, it's just to bring it out, as you say, Greg, to bring it out and open.
Yeah.
But we need, the end result is we need to protect our children. It's a very sensitive issue. There's so many angles and so many things. So many people it can affect, but at the end of the day, right's right and wrong's wrong.
Okay, listen, James, lovely to chat to you. Thank you. And it was a really well-attended meeting last night, which actually, no, of course, very much welcome your conversation. And as you say, now is the time in the run-up to election to people to use it as an opportunity to make sure that they're satisfied with how our children are being taught, or the health service, or
Greg,
anything.
I would love Joe McHugh to come on and explain, give his view on this matter.
But the government stance is quite clear: is that an awful lot of what was in that YouTube video is actually not going to be taught in schools. I don't know how that teacher interpreted or what have you, but the Minister for Education, of course.
But at the end of the day, Greg, that teacher didn't resign her job for just the sake of resigning her job.
She's still a teacher. She just
there's no smoke without fire, Greg.
Okay, okay. Listen, thanks, James. Take care of yourself. Right. I appreciate it. That person is still a teacher. She just is no longer involved in the SPHE program. I'm just a caller says, I just want to express this view in relation to sexual health course, especially in the junior school years. A little boy exposed himself in the playground to my son and his class, and I just wondered, would this have been in this wee lad's head if it wasn't being talked about in schools? This then leads to him getting in trouble. I know knowledge and education is very important for children, but at what age is it appropriate? But, like, I don't know what age these kids are, right? But maybe it's actually the complete innocence of them that he doesn't, like, that he whipped his willy out thinking it was funny. He saw it on the telly or something, or he just did something that was silly. You know, I don't know how old they are, but you say we lads. I'm not saying it's mom and dad should be told, and then mom and dad says, look, you can't be doing that in public. I don't think that's a seed that's been planted. That sounds to me like, you know, young kids play acting. I don't know. I could be. Maybe I'm just too innocent or naive. No harm to James, but God bless his innocence, because 12-year-olds today could teach you a thing or two. Their innocence is lost from the minute parents give them access to the internet, and that's from the age of about 1. Grooming children, I thought it was an offence, says a listener who would be of the view that everything was gospel in that SPHE document. I wonder about the tourist office in Letterkenny. I went to it a few times this year, was closed each time. That comes in from Pat. It's closed till June 25, Pat. Greg, tell him to go to the County Museum. Did he say he went to the museum? He ended up in the library. I don't know what the story is there, but we can tell he's from Kerrykill and he's from Kerrykill, lives here. John, it was another John, wasn't it? Like he was in and around Letterkenny and eventually found some documentation to give to visitors. He's not a visitor himself, but if you've come to an area, you know, you go to it, you look for a tourist office to find out tourism information, you know, or you expect to see it in hotel receptions anyway. I might, or if I was a tourist provider or operator, that's where I'd want my leaflets to be. I don't think we can rely on tourists to eke it out, though. Good morning, Greg and team. Could I ask you a wee favour? The Great Big Art event opens tomorrow night, Friday the 11th of October. It's in Cashlanore Hotel in Annagry. It's a big fundraiser for Pieta House and will showcase 17 Donegal-based artists' work. Moya Brennan will open the show from 7 p.m. on Friday, and it continues on Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 8 p.m. A huge amount of prizes have been donated by local businesses. All are welcome. Thank you so very much. Now, there's two things you're supporting here. You're supporting a fundraiser for Pieta House, but this is also a fantastic opportunity for our artists here in Donegal, and 17 artists, to have their work displayed. So if you like this kind of thing, where else would you be except in Cashlanore Hotel, Annagry? Friday, the 11th of October. And Moya Brennan will open the show from 7 p.m. and it continues on Saturday and Sunday, running from noon to 8 p.m. Prizes have been donated by local businesses. All are welcome. Get along to that if you can and support Pieta, but also support those local artists.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Did you know that low mood, feeling anxious, trouble sleeping, and stress are all part of our mental health? Signs that can be harder to recognise in yourself. For personalised advice that can help, use the My Mental Health Plan tool at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
Easy Living Furniture. Luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Are you ready to flip, tumble and soar over to Michael Murphy Sports to get your hands on the Kids Nastics Gym Range? The ultimate gift for the young gymnast in your family. Whether they're just starting or perfecting their routine, Kids Nastics has everything from wedge mats to balance beams in a range of vibrant colours and styles. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Irish factories lagging €400 per head behind UK. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we analyse the massive gap that has opened up between beef prices here and the UK. Hopes for solution to farm inheritance tax chaos. Urgent warning from Department on importing blue tongue. New €300 million share buyback scheme in Kerry. Donegal farmers club together to protect rural veterinary service. Plus, don't miss our timeline and all your key farm payments in the coming weeks. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Hi, Gregory. The new enhanced MICA scheme, while it might be welcome, the timing is an election stunt. Remember the record of Minister O'Brien for the last 4 years? Refused to meet affected homeowners, refused to engage with groups, refused to make himself available for radio interviews, though I did interview him twice, has caused additional stress and misery on those affected. It's no accident that all these giveaways are timed to coincide with an election. Minister McConalogue is part of this exercise. They are the same shower where they put their careers ahead of the people of Donegal. Shame on them. I'm sure they would see it differently. Right, Owen McGee's a financial expert. He's with me on the show now. Owen, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Right, Consumer Series, the Complaints Bureau is back. When's it airing? I don't have that information.
Yeah, it's kind of February, March, and I don't have that information to hand
Great.
either.
Well,
it's same time as last year. So
I feel a bit better about myself. Okay. Right, so at this stage, are you sort of, recruiting cases to get on board with, or what's the story?
Yeah, so if people are maybe familiar with the show from Series 1, basically what we have is we have a team of journalists. We have Conor Pope, Amy Malloy, and Siobhan Maguire. And what I do is I take in people's complaints. They're having problems. Maybe you've been scammed. Maybe you've had a problem with some company or service or product, and you're banging your head against a brick wall with the complaint, and you're not getting anywhere. And we want to help. And this is a really great opportunity, because what happens is I take in the complaints, I distribute them out to each of the journalists, and we let them decide, and they go off and investigate and engage with the company, and they try and solve it on your behalf.
Yeah, now, of course, you're highlighting certain cases, and we can go through some of those that appeared in season 1 in a moment. But I mean, obviously it's an entertainment program as well, but do you believe it's also informative in that it equips people with how to deal with complaints? Or is it because the big guns from this show are approaching these companies that they buckle under the pressure and the PR side of it? You know what I mean? Because
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Like, are these things being resolved because we're involved, or are they being resolved because the companies are doing the right thing? I'll be honest with you, there are certain companies don't care if, as you describe it, if the big guns are involved or not, and they just keep going, and they treat it very different. They treat it no different than any other thing, and they ignore the customer, and then they ignore us as well, and you have to really bang the door down. I think the difference here, though, is that we are, like, if you take the likes of any of the three, Conor or Siobhan or Amy, they're doing this all the time. Like, they know the buttons to press. They know the words to use. They know when they hit a brick wall, how to get around that brick wall, because they're experts at it. And thankfully, for the individual out there and for your listeners, you don't spend your life complaining about things. So therefore, you may not have the tools and the understanding and even the experience of how to do a complaint right. And I think that's whether you're somebody who gets involved in the show because we help you with your complaint, or you are just a viewer who watches it. You can pick up so much about how to interact with companies and to try and get the solution that you want to get from it.
I think the real change, though, has to come from companies. Obviously, we do some of this work on this show, as lots of shows like this do. We fix people's problems all of the time, but it still beggars belief sometimes, in that, you could have a major car company, for an example, squabbling with someone over £100. And the customer is right, and you could argue the customer's always right, but obviously then it goes on the likes of our radio station, it goes on social media, and the reputational damage for the sake of the £100, you wonder how bloody stubborn are these people. I think, and especially too with the recently published reputation report, I can't remember precisely what it's called, that was published there not so long ago. Businesses could do themselves a lot of favors and not need your great team and our great team here chasing them down for stuff that it's much in their interest to sort out from the get-go.
I do though recognize, though, sometimes what happens is they have a process for complaints, and big companies have a process for complaints, and what happens is there's a stumbling block somewhere in that process, that it's never been fed up the line for the people who create the process to say this is actually an issue here. And then someone like your show or our show jumps in and highlights and puts a spotlight on this. And what it does is it changes the process. And in certain circumstances, and that means for everybody who comes in afterwards doesn't hit that same stumbling block. So yes, there might be an argument, and to be honest with you, it's not that big of a game changer in terms of the big guns, to use your word, getting involved. But there might be an argument, they wouldn't have talked to you if you didn't do it. But that's also the power of social media. Like, everybody has that power. I know certain companies that you can really find it difficult to deal with them, and then you put a comment, and I'm not talking about me with the followers I have, I'm talking about anybody puts a comment and tags them in on it, and all of a sudden the process opens up and everything is back to trying to be fixed again.
So before we make the call for season 2, what jumped out at you from season 1? What case, I suppose we can call them cases, what case interested you most?
Well, there was always the real heartbreaker, I think, and Conor Pope described it himself as one of the most heartbreaking stories he ever had, where there was a couple who had moved into their shed to get their house done up, and the footage that we had was the house was just, it was not habitable. It was missing walls, it was missing windows, and they had been living in their shed. Now, they converted their shed, but don't underestimate the fact that they were living in a shed. They had a newborn baby, and the builder wasn't completing the job. And that was a real heartbreaker, and that was a really difficult one to watch. Then you've got the other ones, and what one of the big lessons that I learned, and not learned, but I think that, not that I learned, hopefully I know this stuff already, but that I hope the viewer learned, was it all comes down to the T's and C's. It all comes down to the terms and conditions. And not many of us actually will sit down and actually read through the terms and conditions of something we're about to buy or a service we're about to buy. But what I would really hope people are taking from watching the show is scanning through them, looking for specific words, cancellation policy or refunds or penalties or what. They're the type of things, if you're not going to read it all, at least scan through it and look for the big stuff. How do I cancel this? How do I get out of this? What does it look like? And they're the type of things, when you're looking through each of the shows, there's a common theme there where people do have a complaint, and sometimes when they're hitting the brick wall, it's because the company can stand behind their terms and conditions.
Yeah, but the companies can be quite clever with the terms and conditions as well, in how they're phrased, the size of them, where they're located. They might be there, but are they? They do make it our job often to root them out, but I suppose that also is our job. There was interesting stories too as it relates to scams as well. Tracking down scammers, always quite cool, because it's good to see the people that are behind these horrible processes, and the retail stuff and the everyday stuff as well. So what do you look? Is it more of the same for season 2? So flog it for us.
What I love about this is the show this year and every year will be created by the people who get in touch with us, right? So it's what is it that your listeners are dealing with that they really just need some help with, because it'll be totally determined. We have a blank page at the moment about what type of people we want to help. We know the problems, we know the scams, and the scams are big. And one of the things I find really difficult about the scams is it's the fact that people there's some type of guilt or shame or something because they've been scammed.
Yeah.
And again, when we were sitting around talking about it last year, if you walked up the street and someone robbed your wallet out of your pocket, you wouldn't feel any shame or guilt. But for some reason, if someone picks up a phone and pretends to be from a bank or financial institution and they rob money out of your bank account, lots of people are of the opinion, I couldn't tell anyone like that. I feel so silly. I feel a little bit stupid. I can't believe I got caught out with it. And what we're hoping here is that by highlighting this stuff, it prevents it happening to other people. So to answer your question, what are we looking for? We're looking for people who have all varying types of complaints, all varying types of consumer issues. And we want your listeners and the people who get involved in this show to create the show, because it's what's important to them is what's important to everybody else. One of the things that I find with these TV shows, yes, you get your complaint resolved. You get the best result you could possibly get, because I think this team will get you the best result that is available. And I have absolute confidence in that, right? But also, it's interesting when you talk to people, why did you get involved in the show? What was it that drove you? Lots of people wanted to get themselves sorted out, but they also wanted to prevent it happening to other people. Mm-hmm. They wanted to highlight, and it's that kind of community this happened to me and I think it was unfair, and therefore I don't want it to happen to other people, and that's why I go. And that's often a bigger driver about why they go on the show at all. So if you have got some issue that you're dealing with and you could do with the expert help that we have, do get in touch with us, because you will get the best results you can possibly get. I will say, Greg, right, one of the things I would say is that we're also fair here, right? So we always give the companies right to reply. We always invite them on for comment and try and get their side of the story. And if the consumer, if you as the individual is actually wrong, we'll tell you that. No, that's it. Or even if it feels unfair, we're here to tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to hear. Of course, we want the nice results and we want everyone to be happy. But if you have been caught out for some other reason and it was fair, we will tell you that too.
And that in its way is educational as well, because there still are potential pitfalls that can be avoided, even if so there's a positive in all of it. So email consumer@indipix.ie with your story and your contact details, whether it's health, housing, tech, travel, ticketing, motoring, buying something online furniture, online services for that matter. I think really in giving examples, you don't want to limit it to those examples. It's pretty much anything to do with a service or a product that you want the team to address. Consumer@indipix.ie. We'll link that on our socials, but for now, go ahead. Did you want to say
just
one
to
final
say,
thing?
Greg, what I would say, don't worry too much about giving us a whole pile of detail in that email. Just get in touch with us, give us a rough outline. We'll get in touch and we'll talk to you. Sometimes that email address gets caught out. It's INDIEPICS, consumer@indipix.ie.
Okie doke. Thanks very much for your time, Owen. Good luck to you and the team. Bye-bye. Okay, back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Only 2 weeks left at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Bridgend and Moville of our massive winter sale. Prices slashed across all departments such as flooring, sofas and dining, beds and mattresses. Also, come and look at our new 1,000 square foot sofa and dining department in our Bridgend store. With in-house offers all month and with our large range of recliner suites and Irish-made fabric suites, we won't be beaten on quality or price in a sale not to be missed. Call into House to Home Devlin's Complex, Bridgend, 20 minutes from Letterkenny, or our Moville store for all your furnishing needs.
Atlantic Travel is ready to book your cruise. Book early to secure the best price and best available cabins, including those limited family suites. See and sail the Greek Isles, cultural cities of Italy and the Croatian coastline, or venture further afield to Asia and Japan, or an Alaskan adventure. Spread the cost with payment plans. Atlantic Travel Letterkenny, the cruise experts, having sailed extensively with all major cruise lines.
Cada irin da vala tastel, mala tastel kosu lumsa. Cada irin da bagasta dealish dirach kosu lumsa. Ta iseg airfort shunnen. Cada irin dumsa marshin fiamak a creenig shandon airport.ie.
Parcáil achfana slán gan stro, rochta néasca agus inid scríba dríachta, Paris nua áireach agus Lanzarote, Airfort gan stro, tid féin agus da bhála, curtús le sira iontaach ag shannanairport.ie.
The Hyundai 251 Open Weekend is happening October 12th and 13th with our most exciting lineup yet, featuring the all-new Santa Fe, stunningly reborn, redesigned and turning heads. Learn why so many Irish drivers love the new Tucson and award-winning new Kona, and be the first to hear the exciting news about our all-new, all-electric Inster.
Visit the Hyundai Open Weekend this weekend at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. If you haven't started using the McElhinney's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Sunny spell, scattered showers. On the cool side of normal for October, temperatures 8 to 10 degrees. Randall Burkhardt is advisor with Threshold. It's a national housing charity, and it's launched its annual Own Your Rights campaign to encourage renters to inform themselves of their rights as tenants in the private rental sector. Good morning to you, Randall. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Right, there's lots to get through here, but I might just ask a couple of questions, if you don't mind, that comes into this show quite regularly. My landlord refusing to accept HAP or rent supplement. What are the options there?
The options are really the fact that landlords are required to accept HAP. If they don't, the tenant can take a case with the Workplace Relations Commission for discrimination. Now, ideally, we try to resolve that before. A lot of times, tenant calls into us, we'll try to speak to the landlord and see if we can't mediate the situation, to see if we can't resolve the situation more amicably. But failing that, it's open to the tenant to take a case with the Workplace Relations Commission for discrimination.
There's lots of landlords, we're told, that won't actually accept HAP tenants. So they're not actually in situ. They just won't accept them at all.
Yeah, it can be difficult in that regard. A lot of times it's one of these things where, for whatever filtering process the landlords go through, a lot of times they don't want to take HAP. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. There's not a. There's not a lot of great solutions for how to get around that, unfortunately. But it's really just a matter of trying to find someone willing to take it and going from there.
We had a couple of calls too from young families whereby landlords have said, listen, we need the house back. My son's coming back from England and you're going to have to vacate the property. And they see the house 3 or 4 weeks later up on Daft or some similar website for double the rent. Is there any recourse there?
There is. With the Residential Tenancy Board, the RTB, there's something known as Section 56. Section 56 is for abuse of process or abuse of procedure for landlords either saying they're going to sell a house or that their family member is going to move in. If they don't follow through with it, then the tenant can raise a dispute at any point after that happens to basically get damages for what happened in relation to that. So,
and is there a time span? Is there? How would you demonstrate that? Because you've moved out of the property, you've no real proof. You can receive no proof that a family member is going to move into the house, and then a number of weeks later, I don't know, is there a minimum or a max that it appears for rent for double the price? How do you prove that?
Well, in relation, if a landlord were selling, the landlord has 9 months to dispose of the property after the tenant vacates. For a family member moving in, on the statutory declaration and the notice of termination, which the landlord is required to sign, there's a specified time period for which they expect the family member to live there. So if either of those is not done, if the landlord doesn't dispose of the house in the 9 months, and the property is not offered back to the tenant, or in the alternative situation for a family member moving in, if the person, say their son or their daughter moves in and they move back out, then it's not offered back to the tenant, then with either of those ones, there's no time limit for bringing a dispute. A lot of times, to find out if a person's living there or not, I often suggest to tenants to just call back around to the house to see if they have any posts there, just as a matter of seeing who's actually living there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, old posts will arrive at places.
All of this, is it not really, all of this really works if the landlord's registered with the tenancy board. Many aren't. And many would know that because they're trying to claim the rental tax credit and they can't for that matter. Are landlords obliged to be registered with their residence tenancy board?
They are. Unfortunately, or fortunately, a landlord not being registered with the RTB doesn't actually affect a tenant's rights. Tenants always have the right to raise a dispute or to contact the RTB regarding anything wrong with the tenancy. But they are obliged by law to be registered with the RTB, and there's penalties for them not being registered. If a tenant's aware, or if anyone's aware of the fact of a landlord not being registered, they can always call the RTB and speak to the Investigations and Sanctions Unit and report the unregistered tenancy.
I don't have a ton of time. I wish I had more, Randall. But do you believe maybe the cards are stacked with landlords in that, there are 10 people waiting to take over your position in that property if you cause a stink and get evicted?
It's a difficult situation we find ourselves in with the housing epidemic that we have here. Unfortunately, I don't think it's just limited to Ireland. I think it's kind of a Western democracy issue largely. But what you're saying is kind of correct. The fact that for as many tenancy rights as we have, it'd be great if we had more. Currently, something that Threshold as an organization is advocating for is for a referendum on housing, for housing as a basic human right.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next government will bring that through.
Okay, Randall, listen, thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate it. Randall Buckhart, advisor with Threshold, who you can contact as well, by the way, with many of the issues we've been discussing. Have a great Thursday. We're back